Good evening and welcome to the second round of the Esport Designs Cayman Supercup in association with MSL Motorsport Consultancy. It was a thrilling opening bout to begin the season in Barcelona, with the first pit stop race in the series throwing up strategy calls and a fight for the victory that went right down to the wire. Tonight we go sprint racing, a format more commonly associated with this Esport Designs Cayman Supercup. 60 minutes of flag-to-flag action around the mischievous Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli on the Adriatic coast. I'm Tim Fullbrook, one half of your Cayman commentary team, and my friend David Wressell completes the lineup this evening. Now, DW, we stay in the Mediterranean region. It's going to be anything other than relaxing for the drivers out there tonight.
Good evening, Tim. Hope you're well, buddy. And good evening to everyone watching the broadcast this evening. Great to see numbers looking really good again this week. And I'm sure we're going to get a fantastic race this evening. Very different track to obviously what we had at Barcelona last week. But like you said, Tim, still plenty of chance for a lot of action. And a nod back to season one. We enjoyed the sprint races, didn't we? And definitely looking forward to another one this evening. Should be an absolute cracker.
Well, before we get things started, it's great to welcome aboard MSL Motorsport Consultancy, as well as Porschesport, Race Department and Grid Finder, with all the races hosted on the Simracing.gp platform. And as well, I'd like to give a shout out to James Madgill for some excellent photography post-race. He'll be covering all the events this season and taking some shots of the cars, which, David, we've said it before and we'll say it again, the Esport Designs grid is probably one of the best looking out there, isn't it?
I mean, Steve's not too bad at what he does, is he? Let's be honest. I mean, some of these are absolutely spot on, and obviously a lot of it goes down to the guys who have submitted, or so should I say, requested what they're after. But the way that Steve manages to interpret those ideas and puts them into a guide and a list of cars, such as what you can see on the screen now, is just absolutely different level. They honestly look amazing, and they look great on the Spotters Guide, and they'll look great on the track tonight as well. And I'm really excited to see all of them again. Should be great.
Just wanted to ask, obviously, the previous race at Barcelona, we had some very interesting performances, some debut point scorers and race winners. Any particular standout performances from you and drivers that you'll be looking to repeat that this evening at Misano?
Well, there's a few, to be honest. I mean, you can't look much further than Kev Critchley, can you? Of course, he got the win from second place on the grid in last week's race at Catalunya. Of course, got the fastest lap as well and leads into the championship with 26 points. You can see them there. And obviously gets a pair of Grid Finder gloves for the Grid Finder Fastest Lap Award to boot as well. Just to make a little plug for that. Everyone will get one of those for the fastest lap of all 7 rounds this season. But I'm also keeping an eye on Florian Bauer as well. Of course, he's driving alongside Steve Hinden in the Esport Design car. And he was really, really quick last week. He got caught up in a couple of incidents, should we say, and maybe could have been a little bit further up a course. And if you look a little bit further down, I think he's got Aris in with 8 points so far. He was, I think he got the most positions gained over the course of last week. So definitely want to keep an eye on as well.
So that's Kev Critchley of BD Racing leading the points at the moment. Tyre strategy last week allowing him to pass Zansho Simsport's Jack McIntyre en route to a debut victory, as David mentions, his first appearance in the series, and he's got a perfect record so far. Then it's Jack Noller in third, who rounded out the podium after convincing his set of tyres on the number 36 MSL Motorsport Cayman to go the race distance, with Ross McGregor in fourth, pitting exceptionally early and somehow emerging in P4 come the checkered flag. But like David mentioned, some debut points finishes: Florian Bauer, Pierre-Olivier Cloutier, Ben Hitz, Thomas Lavoie, Aaron Martin Pilkington and Aris Vasilakos, obviously of Team Kunos. Aris, so many of you watching on will know. A lot of drivers bagging points in their first rounds, and David, with points only awarded to the top 15, 7 races on the calendar, points, no difference between the longer races and the shorter races. Every single event counts, and every single point tallied against your name is going to add up come the end of season.
Oh, absolutely, Tim. And yeah, we'll go on to that point. Of course, we lost Luca Burt to a disconnection in the race last week. And for those of you who aren't aware, the rules that we've been mentioned as part of the race in this season is that if you are disconnected once qualifying starts, that is it. You're unfortunately out of the race. And did have a game crash last week, so our reigning champion did not get off to the best of starts. He is in the server at the moment. We've got 29 cars, I'm counting, on the timings board at the moment. Speaking of timings, if you do want to head over to pitwall.live and have a look at the Simsport Solutions server, you'll be able to see all of the live timings throughout the evening as well. But Yeah, it is one of those, and we know how quick Luca Burke is, but he's not been off to the best of starts, of course, with no points on the board up until now.
So let's take a ride around this 4.266 kilometre circuit at Mazzano, a technical circuit with a mix of fast and slow corners. We ride on board with Jack Nollerin, the number 36 MSL Motorsport Consultancy Cayman, down towards turn 1. Look at the kick of oversteer as he turns into the right, then through the left, convince the car to then turn right again. It's a very fast change of direction before the track widens out for the tricky right-hander. Good overtaking opportunity should the driver in front be making a mistake into Curva del Rio. Double right-hander. Easy to get pinged for track limits though round here as Jack takes dubious amounts of curb on the inside on the left-hander there. Then a straight down towards Curva Quercia where there is another opportunity for a pass should you get a slipstream. Up towards fifth gear, then break down to second. Get the car into this first apex and just run the car out wide. Use all of the curb on exit, then you're going to be braking and turning into Curva Tramonto. Coming through that first slight kink, just ignore it, break in a straight line and try and get round this second part. And then David, this is the real roller coaster section, although it's completely flat. It's completely flat inside the car, pedal to the metal and just hold on tight.
Absolutely, Tim. Yeah, lift at your peril as you go through these. You're going to hit this first right-hander with absolute full pelt, and then you're going to do the same coming into this one. You might just drop a little bit off the gas. You come into that final right-hand, you see sliding all over the place, taking an enormous amount of curb is Jack on this hot lap, which is beautiful to see. Really making the most of the of all of the width of the track. Final hairpin coming through Curva del Caro, and then coming back towards the final couple of corners, these double left-handers into Curva Mazzano to finish it off. And it's one of those, Tim, where track limits are a little bit odd, in my opinion, because there's some corners where you can take, as you mentioned, an insane amount of curb on some of them coming back to the first part of the lap. But there's some odd places where you wouldn't necessarily expect to get some track limit warnings. So it's something to keep an eye out for this evening, I think.
And if everyone's playing along at home, feel free to take a drink of your favourite beverage every time David and I mention track limits, because I feel like tonight, with the nature of the curbs around here, you know, this circuit is used for motorbike racing, the slightly flat curbs and the asphalt runoffs that line the circuit. You can abuse them, David, can't you? But do that at your own peril, because in qualifying, you might lose your best lap, but in the race, one too many strikes against your name, and that's a very costly drive-through penalty.
Absolutely, yeah. It's probably not one of those where I think you'll lose too much time in comparison to the other pit stop windows that we've seen in other races, which is probably a good thing considering obviously the fact that we're only doing a sprint race, so we're not really lose. There's not going to be the opportunity to gain that time back, so it won't be as detrimental as some of the other tracks, but you're still not going to want to do it. And it is one of those tracks where flow is really important, and a lot of the, as you mentioned, Tim, a lot of the key overtaking zones are after corners where you can be fairly liberal with your track extensions, especially going over towards Curva Quercia towards the front end of the lap. So it is going to be one of those things these guys have to keep a really keen eye on, and we might start to see the times just slow down a little bit towards the end of the race. They try and stop themselves from having to make that dreaded trip through pit lane.
Well, a different nature of racing as well this evening. Last time it was almost a Grand Prix style race, 90 minutes in length, required to do a pit stop, but 60 minutes flag to flag, a format we're more accustomed to here at the Esports Design Cayman Supercup. It brings about a different nature of racing, doesn't it, David? Because there's no strategy to play. The drive you've got to pass are those in front of you, and if you're at the front, you don't want to let those Caymans catch up to you and take your position away.
Absolutely, Tim. Yeah, obviously still limited tyre sets, so there's only 3 or 4 available to them this evening. I believe it's 3 based on the shorter time that we have in the alternate races. So it's really just going to be a case of put your foot down, go for it, and ask questions later. We have, of course, got live stewarding, so we'll be able to keep abreast of all of what's going on as well. And hopefully there won't be too much for them to do tonight. They were a busy bunch last week, but I will give the guys a bit of credit just for the fact they were probably getting used to being so close to some people they've maybe not raced with on track before. But yeah, it is going to be one of those where it's flag to flag. It's going to be an absolute cracker, and everyone's going to be pushing to the limit for the full 60 minutes. It's going to be an absolute cracker.
So let's just cover what the drivers are playing for. There's points down to 15th place, 1 point for pole, 1 for fastest lap, 7 points to those drivers who complete all of the races, as David mentioned. tickets to the Grand Prix ball for the overall winner, then Grand Prix tickets to the driver who gains the most places across the season. And as well, there's a prize draw with driver instruction courtesy of MSL Motorsport Consultancy, as well as the Grid Finder Fastest Lap Award. Bag yourself some very nice sim racing gloves if you set the fastest lap across the race. And we had the 90 minutes at Barcelona last week. We're at Rosano for round 2 tonight. Then we head to Spa next week, Kyalami for a 60-minute race, then Paul Ricard, Imola and Silverstone rounds out the season with a 90-minute race on the 7th of June. And drivers will be preparing to head out for qualifying, which, as David and I have mentioned, probably has more importance tonight with 60 minutes flag to flag. And before we go live, we'll just take a quick 10-second break and we'll see you when the session goes green. We're getting ready to go green for qualifying for the second round of the Esport Design's Cayman Supercup in association with MSL Motorsport Consultancy. And David, qualifying, we've seen it all throughout the first season and we saw it last time out at Barcelona. It's a matter of thousandths of a second between these drivers. It's such a tight competitive field. One spot on the grid could really pay dividends this evening.
Oh, absolutely, Tim. And yeah, it's always one of these things I think you come to assume with an invitational series such as this, where you might expect a bit of a spread of quality throughout the field, but these guys are just so quick and they're all really, really, really well matched as well. And it makes for a fantastic spectacle, not only for, I'm sure, the guys who are out racing at the moment, and they've all been talking about over the last week or so just how much enjoyment they got out of the race last week, but it's great for us, and it means that we've got some fantastic racing coming up. So yeah, qualifying should be underway in a second and we'll be able to see how we're getting on.
The drivers are out on track. Here's the current standings leader, Kev Critchley, BD Racing, the number 15 dark blue, and called that green, I think it's green, isn't it, David, on the BD Racing Porsche. He's heading out onto his first warm-up lap as we see drivers weaving, trying to generate some temperature into the tyres. 18 degrees track temperature and ambient. Warmer conditions than we saw at Barcelona, so I'm sure the drivers will be able to get the rubber heated up beneath them sooner. Of course, the track is on optimum as well, which is always going to help once drivers start pushing things. Ross McGregor on your screen at the moment, using an alternate strategy in the previous race, pitting very early on and managing to come up the field to 4th place at the checkered flag. He was pleased with that performance. It was the Snetterton Season 1 race winner. Here's David Belanger of the EGT Motorsports team, number treble 2. He'll be looking for a slightly stronger result in qualifying this time. 16th on the grid at Catalonia. Best qualifying result of 9th at Snetterton last season. So he'll be looking to replicate that and get inside the top 10. And one of your favourite liveries, David, this Hub Racing team, bright orange Caymans. We see the drivers just trying to clear some space before getting onto their first qualifying laps.
Yeah, it's not all too simple, is it, with 30 cars out there? I'm sure we'll call it a burnt orange of some description. I've no doubt if we were to ask Steve Hinton himself, he'd probably have some sort of myriad of numbers or codes or some fancy colour coding that he would use to describe it. But yeah, it's a beautiful looking car, but you are absolutely right, Tim. It's not easy for these guys to get a bit of space. You can actually see on the timing chart at the moment that all of those who came out really quickly are almost in a bit of a gaggle. So I wouldn't expect to see anything too groundbreaking in terms of times for those front runners at the moment, but I'm sure we'll start to see those times disappear down as we carry into the session. Interesting to note, of course, 7 p.m. in the server at the moment. I believe it's going to be an 8 p.m. race start, so expect those track and ambient temperatures to drop down a little bit, and even more so throughout the race. So it's really going to be a test of not only keeping the speed up, but trying to keep those tyres in an optimal window as well.
So we see podium finisher last time out, Jack Noller of the 36 MSL Motorsport team, heading round on his first flying lap into the curve to Tramonto here, getting the car stopped nice. He's going to be getting a very healthy tow from Kev Critchley in front, I believe, as they run down the back stretch that goes through two very fast kinks, and they'll need to slow the car down for the final pass of this back section. Look at that, he'll be benefiting greatly from running behind Critchley there. That's going to be some time found, and David, we saw at Barcelona that get inside the slipstream, get tucked up behind your rival, and when these Caymans start reaching top speed, you can really benefit from the tow.
Absolutely, yeah, and one of those things that's going to be really important, of course, especially in a spec series such as this. You can't necessarily benefit from different cars having different strengths, and it does mean that things like the tow and stuff like that is going to be ever so important. I think it's actually Chris Crossman who's getting a tow from there, and funnily enough, Kev Critchley is the man behind him, so Kev's definitely benefited more so, and he's putting a 1:41.9, Jack a half a second back, and then Will Dendy splitting those two now in the Zansho number 28 machine, so still plenty of time going on the ball, but I'm sure those will drop down over the next 15 minutes or so. I would expect we'll probably start to see them drop into the mid 141s over the next couple of laps.
Stream of drivers then completing their lap times. It's race one winner Kev Critchley topping the timings at the moment with a 41.9. Then second at the moment, Will Dendy heads Ross McGregor and Jack Noller in fourth place, with Jack McIntyre, driver who was pretty much untouchable in qualifying and led the race very cleanly actually in the opening few laps. Got this stat for you, David. I know you like a good stat, that the gap between McIntyre and Critchley in the front row of the previous race at Catalonia was the largest qualifying margin we've seen so far in the Esports Designs Cayman Supercup. 2.5 tenths, David. That's just how close qualifying is.
You know me too well. I do love a good bit of stats every now and again, and that is an incredible one. I'm amazed that you managed to go back and trawl through all those bits of data to get it. And what a lap it was. Of course, I remember very clearly catching that and going on board with Jack towards the end of that lap. And it was just one of those where that track at Catalonia was getting faster and faster every lap, and Jack was pretty much the last man out there, and really made it pay dividends. As Al Buncombe, you can see here, cross the line, puts himself 7th. He's about 7 tenths off of current pole sitter Luca Burke at the moment, so he's back in and will hopefully be able to see the remainder of this race through this evening. But Florian Bauer, goodness me, coming in with a 1:41.3 for the eSport Designs team, certainly not hanging around.
Very close indeed, followed again by Kev Critchley, who improved his time on that previous tour of 41.6, so the gap at the top now just over 2.5 tenths of a second. Luca Burke down to third, half a second back, with Regan Mitchell on your screen in the 69 Simsport Solutions car, the only driver to have finished in the points of every race of this series so far, as Luca Burke, it's donning the Rocket Simsport colours this season, is the number 87. He'll be looking to reclaim that top spot. Florian Bauer, that's a brilliant time. Just thinking about that, David, really started to stretch his legs and get away from the front of the field with a time like that, as Will Dendy heads to pit lane in an attempt to maybe adjust setup or strap on a new set of tyres and go again, but run the risk of taking a set that you might want for the race. And I wonder, David, where we'll see any drivers take that set, as Luca Burke runs very wide, and I'm sure that's his lap invalidated. Looks like he backs off almost immediately, as if to there's almost a sense of anguish there as he lost that lap time. Jenson Button here on screen now looking to respond and move up from 8th place. But as I was saying, David, limited set of tyres. Would you dare risk take the set that you want to use in the start of the race just to improve your qualifying position in the final few minutes?
I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? It's a balancing act of and a bit of jeopardy as well, which we love to see in these kind of things. And I think if I was in that position, I know that I'm probably not the best at qualifying in the world, so I'd probably stick on a fresh set to see if I can get a little bit further up and then see how the race pans out, especially if it's a 60-minute flag to flag like it is here. Of course, there's going to be no benefit for you jumping into the pits at any point. So it is one of those. I think in the longer races, we'll see maybe they will be a little bit more reticent in their qualifying times, but at the moment for this evening, it's just a case of right foot down, extend the track as much as you possibly can. As you can see, one of the PSR Podium Sim Racing cars does behind Danny Gieser there, and yeah, just go as fast as you can, set the best possible lap you can do. And at the moment, Tim, I'm seeing that our top 15 is separated by barely about a thousandth of a second by a second. Just absolutely incredible.
Brilliant. 0.999 of a second separating the top 15. It's Florian Bauer still at the top of the times at 41.352 remaining, with Kev Critchley now improved to go within 0.07 of a second, as Jack McIntyre now 0.6 of a second is the number 37 driver, improving on his time. He hasn't set a valid lap yet, so he needs to keep this one clean and either set a quick lap or set a banker lap. He's lost just 0.1, so he's half a second up as he rounds the final couple of corners. Previous best was 1:42.3, but must have been invalidated as there's no time on the boards. He rounds the final corner. Doesn't extend the track too much on exit, stays to the right-hand side for the shortest distance on the run to the line, and McIntyre goes 14th, but Bunker behind's improving, and he jumps right up the order. Fantastic lap there. Luca Burke as well, going first. That's pole position at the moment, 41.1.
Wow, I mean, what a lap from Luca Burke that was. I was wondering whether Jack McIntyre was going to be able to get a bit more time on it than he did, obviously sitting 14th for the moment, just over a second back. And if you discount the fact that Luca Burke's put an absolute stormer of a lap, actually Jack Noller going up into 8th place, gaining a couple of cents there as well. It's just one of those, Tim, where the field is so closely matched that even people, you see John Clements now coming out the final corner, looks like he's just about kept it within track limits. He's following one of the EGT Motorsport cars over the line. Doesn't appear to improve. In fact, he did improve, but clearly must have invalidated the lap at some points, being a little bit liberal with those track limits. But yeah, it's one of those, you can gain a 10th or 2 across a lap, and you seem to be gaining 4 or 5 positions just due to the quality of the field and how close they all are.
The importance then of stringing together a clean lap. We've mentioned it before that sometimes it's just getting that lap done. It's getting to the line, not dirtying it by running over the track limits, getting that lap in, and you could find yourself moving up the order, and in the same sense giving it absolutely everything and finding just a 10th of a second could see you shoot up the timing feed. As we see, Luca Burke is improving on his time once again, slightly wide through the right-hander there, but manages to keep the car within the track limits. He's lost a little bit of time through this. It's going to be close as to whether he can improve his time into the final corner at Curva Misano. Through the left hand, he uses all the curb on the apex and all the curb on the exit, and he stays to the right-hand side again to shorten that run to the line. Does he improve? Yes.
Just.
By the best part, just exactly, by the best part of 200ths of a second. But that could be enough, David, just to see him keep ahead of Florian Bauer, who is, I'm sure, going to try and fight back.
Yeah, absolutely. You see Chris Crossman now gaining by 4/10. That's going to put him right up into what looks to be 9th place, just ahead of Jack Noller, assuming he retains that time through the last couple of corners. And we're seeing how close these guys are at the moment. It's absolutely great stuff, and it's going to make for a brilliant race, I've no doubt. Puts himself 9th with a 1:41.817, but Luca Burke now back in pit lane, sitting on top of the timing chart. Will Dendy coming through the back end of the track, he's 4/10 up as well, so that's going to put him in replacement of Chris Crossman in 9th. It looks like we're seeing it, but just under halfway at half time left in qualifying, so still plenty of time for everyone to get out and put a couple more laps in. Very, very aggressive from Will there. You see that's one of the Simsport Solutions cars going even wider behind him. Will puts himself 10th in the end, so lost a little bit of time coming through the back end. David Bellinger at the moment really doing a much better job than he did last week. Of course, he was stuck in a couple of incidents last week, most notably at Martin Pilkington, but half a second off the pole position man at Luca Burke at the moment, so definitely seeming to turn around his fortunes here at Misano.
An improved time indeed from Belanger, and he's up into 5th place at the moment, best qualifying of 9th, so he's about to set himself a new personal best. But there's just under 8.5 minutes to go, and everything can change, and normally does, in the Esport Designs Cayman Supercup. Kirk Heath on your screen at the moment, number 121 Turn 1 Esports car, heading out onto the back stretch. He's a 10th up on his best. That won't see him jump in front of Stain Passport in the 444 Simsport Racing Cayman, but it will see him improve his time and potentially enlarging the gap between himself and Stefan Bunetics behind in the number 83. So we'll see if Heath can improve. And here's Danny Giese in the number 9 Haupt Racing Machine, driver in the Le Mans Virtual in 2020. And I've got numerous other sim racing exploits from Danny. In fact, I asked him to try and narrow it down, and he quite simply couldn't in a message for me. So that shows you what he's achieved. As Kev Critchley, race winner last time, is 2/10 up on his best. That will see him go close to the current provisional pole time from Luca Burke, but not enough to topple the reigning champion in the top of the timing sheet. So let's see if Pritchie can keep it clean and fast around this final sector. He's got Steve Hindon in the eSport Designs car in front, not holding him up too much as they go over to the right-hand side for maximum entry, as Will Dendy goes up to 4th place. Does the number 28 car. Here we go, Pritchie through the final corner, race winner at Barcelona. Can he bag pole position, which McIntyre snatched from him last time? He crosses the line and he does improve to 2nd, but it's not enough to knock Burke from top spot. 900ths of a second separating the top 2. Fantastic stuff, David.
Crazy stuff, yeah, absolutely mental. Obviously, Kieran Vidago now, you can see he's 2 tenths up as well, so that's going to shift him up towards the top 10. Of course, he's round the front end of the track, so he's still got plenty of time to gain a little bit more and try and shift himself a bit further at the standings. Jenson Button currently sitting in 8th, so he'll be looking to improve, no doubt, and of course improve from his race running last week, where unfortunately he did retire from the race. He didn't manage to complete a full race distance, which is a bit of a shame. I know that Aris unfortunately isn't able to attend this evening as well, so his fast forward, I can't remember what the title's called, but his championship of gaining the most positions is at threat at the moment. But yeah, it's really, really close at the top end of the charts, and there's a little bit of a gap at the top. Of course, we've got a few tenths separating the top 3 of Luca Burke, Kev Critchley and Florian Bauer, but from there down, Tim, from 4th until 10th, there's less than 3 tenths of a second, and that tells you all you need to know.
That's very succinctly put from yourself, David. That's all we need to know about qualifying in this championship. Jack Dollar in 11th at the moment. That's surprising for the number 36 car. We're used to seeing Jack well up at the sharp end. He did admit to not having the most practice at Mazzano and a bit of a love-hate relationship with the circuit. So let's see if he can improve on this particular lap as we close in on the final 5 minutes of this session. Round the final corner, can Jack keep it clean? Uses plenty of curb on the inside and on the outside. Kicks up with some dust on the right-hand side for good measure. He's about a 10th up at the moment. He crosses the line, and I wonder whether he must have dirtied that lap, because it was quicker, but it didn't see him move up the timing street. As Jack McIntyre, pole sitter in Barcelona, 3 tenths up on his time at the moment. That could see him jump towards the top 10. It's surprising to see McIntyre down in 17th at the moment. Such is the nature of this championship. One weekend you're on it, one week you're struggling. Let's see if Jack can get himself up the grid and through the final corner. Runs over the track on the right-hand side, doesn't use too much curb to invalidate his lap time. Crosses the line. Does he improve? Or just goes up to 16th place. He doesn't seem to be getting the lap together, David. I wonder if Jack is maybe got his thoughts on the race. But again, it would be, you would expect Jack to be right up towards the sharp end.
You would, Tim, yeah, and I think obviously, well, we proved his point last time round where he ended up actually putting the fastest lap in right at the death of qualifying when the time had hit 0. I think he must have crossed the line just as it flicked over as well, because it was very late into there. I remember we dropped back on to see how he was getting on, so still plenty of time for him to improve. I'm sure he's aware of that as well, and I'm sure he's got a few tenths in the bag should he need them. I've just noticed that Kev Critchley's actually gone a little bit quicker as well. Still not managed to usurp that pole position sitter at the moment of Luca Burke, but certainly getting quicker. Bradley Brocky's here in the E-Team Brit Cayman, the number 105 machine, a little bit further down the order than he would want, but if he can get a couple of tenths out of this lap, there's a little bit wide through Curva Tremonto there, so that's going to upset him going onto the back straight. But if he can gain a couple of tenths, Tim, there's certainly some position to be gathered down that bottom end of the grid.
Very close indeed towards the back end. Kirk Heath in 24th, currently in pit lane in the 121 Terminal eSports car. Then Stefan Bunatics, Darrell Upton, Bradley Brockies and Max Spooner are your positions from 24th down to 28. Should drivers find an improvement of, well, the best part of half a second, and they can see themselves jump up inside the top 20 as we see Florian Bauer on screen at the moment in the number 10 eSport Designs machine pushing on. There's a car off to the inside of the track there on the grass, looked like one of the Rocket Simsports cars, as we see Jack McIntyre. He's 8 tenths up on his time. Let's see where he can go as he crosses the line, jumps from 17th to 3rd. That's more like it, Jack.
I did tell you.
Up towards the second row. Yep, David, you had your money on that one for sure.
Wow, I mean, yeah, if he's managed to gain 8 tenths there, and he did the same, if he does the same thing he does at Barcelona, he's going to be taking the pole by nearly a second if he carries on this way. What a lap that was, and it just shows you how difficult this track can be, and if you can get a lap hooked up like he's done there, it can really make or break your qualifying. And it can only assume he's just been maybe a little bit more cautious and apprehensive of the track limits, as we have seen some people have been obviously falling foul of them, but seem to put no caution to the win there. And yeah, what a lap! And still with 2 minutes left, still potential chance for him to get at least 1, maybe 2 laps in and try and improve it even more.
Looking at the timing screen, Jack was, well, he was about a tenth, best part of 2 tenths down on the competition in the final sector, where you can really run the risk of invalidating your lap time. I wonder if that's exactly the symptom of what you were saying there, David, about him making sure he gets the lap finished. Should he go again and give it absolutely everything, wouldn't be surprised to see him improve on his time, as Bastian Zennefeld's now on the run to the line. He's at the 22nd, and he will cross the line, jump up to 17th. Will the podium, he started second actually at Imola, so best result is on the front row. A long way from it at the moment is Bastian in the podium sim racing number 64 machine. Luca Burke holding on to pole position at the moment. Kev Critchley and Jack McIntyre in pit lane, which is crucial because with less than 90 seconds to go in this qualifying session, that's them accepting their fate. They've got no chance now to respond and head out on track and better their lap. So really, competitions for Luca Burke has got to come from Florian Bauer, Will Dendy, Ross McGregor in 4th, 5th and 6th. But looking further down the order, Regan Mitchell's still out on the track. So really, David, looks like some of the drivers feel like they've given it everything.
Absolutely, yeah. And considering how quick these guys are, I wouldn't be surprised if they have given 100% so far. They've probably absolutely shattered the laps that have been going in over the last 19 minutes. And it potentially, my money could be on Florian getting up. In fact, I say that, just I've said that commentator's curse. He's actually retired back to the pits as well. So it's Will Dendy, Ross McGregor and Regan Mitchell from the top 10 who've got any chance of really making up any ground on these guys. Luca Burke at the moment, we're still following him on board as he comes into the final couple of corners. We'll see whether he manages to improve. I'm understanding he's 2 tenths up at the moment, so if he can keep it clean through the last couple of corners, which it looks like he has done, goes a little bit wide, but plenty of respect for track limits there. So he's going to stick to the right across the line. It's going to be into the 140s and 140.9, just to rub salt in the wound and really make a statement and to literally tell everyone, right, I might have dropped out last week, but I am back and I am ready to go. And that is exactly what he needed to do for this qualifying session.
Sense of deja vu then, isn't it, David, with Luca Burke at the top of the timings? That's his 4th pole position in the Esport Designs Cayman Supercup. Another change of times there, just as the checkered flag flew. Florian Bauer jumping up to 4th place in the order, as well as Chris Crossman going 5th. A great time from the number 3 BD Racing car. So as it stands, it's Luca Burke who's first, pole position for him. He's joined by Kevin Critchley, race 1 winner on the front row of the grid. Then it's Jack McIntyre in 3rd, Florian Bauer 4th in the number 10 Esport Designs car. Then Chris Crossman drags his number 3 BD Racing machine up to the 3rd row with 5th place at the moment, with Will Dendy 6th on his return to the series. Ross McGregor 7th, with Jack Noller in 8th. Then we have John Clements and David Belanger rounding out your top 10. Regan Mitchell 11th alongside Jenson Button, with Ben Hitz of the Hout Motorsport team in 13th, with Al Buncombe alongside him. Then in 15th, Steve Hinden with Kieran Vidago, Bastian Zennefelds, Danny Greaser, Steen Paspont and Aaron Martin Pilkington rounding out your top 20. And from first place, David, all the way down to Aaron Martin Pilkington in 20th position in the Simsport Solutions car. A gap of 1.1 seconds. Just shows you how close the action is. But with the racing, really where you score the big points, 1 point available for pole, which has gone the way of Luca Burke. But with the points handed out in this 60-minute race, it's all about making it to that checkered flag.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's one of these tracks where the first sort of sector of the lap, it can be quite technical. So it's going to be one of those where I think the guys are maybe just going to try and avoid a little bit of contact and avoid incident through the first couple of corners, get themselves into a rhythm, and then use the rest of the next sort of 55 minutes or so to really get stuck in. I'm actually just looking back at the qualifying times and particularly paying close attention to some of the sector times there as well. First thing I'll mention is the fact that the first sector in most of these guys is you're looking at an average of about 25.2. There's very little deviation between that, but looking between Luca Burke and Kev Critchley, Luca did a 25.1 as opposed to Kev's 25.38 in the first sector, and then it was actually identical second sectors, and then the final one, Kev was actually half a tenth quicker. So it just shows you how much Luca seems to have maybe opted for setup that's just going to help him in that more technical area and start to maybe give him a little bit of breathing room as they come out towards the more, should we say, the more open overtaking opportunities on the straights around the back end of the track.
So Steve Proudley, our broadcast director, is out on the track on the Simsport Solutions Segway, rolling down the middle of the grid, taking a look at the cars as they prepare to head out on their formation lap and take the green flag for this second round of the season. Once again, a really nice look at these designs by the Esport Designs team. Steve Hinden, of course, who is racing in the series, currently in 15th place, and the number 80 car will be looking to get inside the points again. Steve finished 15th last time out, bagged himself 1 point, and he did laugh at that and say he could points and point make a difference in his championship. So let's hope that Steve can bag himself a good result this evening. Jack Noller on the right-hand side there said to me that he was just hoping for a top 10. Well, he's in 8th position, so if he can hold on to that for 60 minutes, he'll be happy. Then John Clements on the left-hand side, and David Belanger, who again, David, is towards the sharp end of the grid. And it seems like with every race, the driver of the number 222 seems to find more performance in his Cayman.
Absolutely, yeah, and he's running a very similar trend to what he did last season, where he almost started off, dare I say it, with no offence intended to all of the Canadians watching this evening. I know there's a lot of support for the UGT guys on the YouTube stream this evening. He started off a little bit slowly, if we're going to be completely honest, but then he seemed to mature as he came through the series and ended up doing really well towards the back end. But he seems to be starting higher at the normal, and obviously with the grid being, dare I say, even more competitive than it was last season, to get yourself into 10th there is nothing short of a big effort. So I'm sure he'll be hoping to gain another couple of positions in the race, and it's definitely one of those tracks where that is absolutely possible.
Just rolled past Kieran Vidaga in the number 4 Simsport racing car. He managed to get himself up towards 5th in the previous race. It's a long grid, plenty of cars out on track, so there's going to be battles up and down the order. 28 cars on the grid. There's one of the Simsport Solution cars on the right hand side, the 626 of Aaron Martin Pilkington, and Pierre-Olivier Cloutier on your left in the number 39. And Pierre-Olivier was 14th to 12th in the previous race. He's got some more work to do, though, this evening from 21st. Let's see how he fares across the 60 minutes. I'm surprised to see the 2 Turn 1 Esports cars towards this end of the grid. Oscar Sandberg in 22nd place. And there on the right-hand side, the 121 of Kirk Heath in 24. So those are 2 drivers definitely to keep an eye on. They'll be trying to kick their way through the field and climb up the timing screens. And then it's the Simracing.gp car on the left. Sorry, that's Gridfinder car of Stefan Bunetics, who is enjoying his time in the series already. And the 2 E-Team Brit cars rounding out the back of the grid and looking like they just want to get round, get another race done and continue to develop their performance in that car. I did speak briefly to Max Spoon, and he said, yes, he felt more comfortable in a prototype, and a Porsche Cayman 718 Cayman GT4 is a long way from an LMP2 car, isn't it, David? But it's a car we all love. The racing's good. Spec series. I think we're strapped in for a pretty exciting race tonight.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You could almost compare chalk and cheese there, aren't you? Definitely a small amount of downforce difference, at least, between the LMP2 and the Porsche Cayman.
But if you're being generous, though. Just
exactly, yeah. Absolutely. But with only 15 seconds until the race actually starts, of course, we'll have the full formation lap, and Luca will lead everyone around while they get everything nice and warmed up and ready to go. It's all set up for what is going to be a brilliant race as the sun starts to set at Mazzano. So it's going to be not only a brilliant race on track, but it's going to be quite a beautiful spectacle off it as well, I think.
And we're seeing actually a symptom of that, David, is the track temperature now down to 16 degrees. So it's 2 degrees cooler than it was in qualifying. It doesn't sound like a lot, but if that trend continues, drivers will be forced to deal with a circuit that feels completely different to the one they were driving on about half an hour previously. So as the grid head away from the standing positions and onto this formation lap, drivers already weaving in an attempt to warm up their tyres and keep the pressures high, because in a circuit like Mazzano where you abuse the curves, I'm sure we're going to see some drivers discussing tyre issues and potentially struggling with some rather unhappy rubber underneath them. But Luca Burke, he's back at the top of the pile, David, and like you say, back in the season after the disconnect last time out, he really needs to be up in the top 5 tonight to get his championship, started, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Kev Critchley right behind him. He's going to be looking for a strong showing as well. And if it all goes Luca's way, I'm sure he'll get into that first corner nice and cleanly, and then he will start to make a gap a little bit. But I mean, those top 4. In fact, I can't even discredit Chris Crossman or Will Dendy or any of the top 10 really. Or really anyone who's within a second, because they're all clearly quick guys. So it's not going to be like we saw a couple of times last season, where Luca maybe got into a bit of clean air, got out the field, nothing too ludicrous, but got a couple of seconds, then kind of just managed the race from there. He's not going to have that luxury this season, because we've seen how quick a lot of these guys are, and it's going to be really interesting to see whether he'll be able to start, or the first race he is actually managing to start, where he'll actually end up finishing, because like you said, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. So although he's on pole now, that could be completely different in just over 60 minutes time.
Great comparison to make there, Dave. Like you say, he had it, I wouldn't say he had it easy, but he was able to get that breathing space in the previous season. The closest driver to him, more often than not, was teammate or rival Jenson Button, whichever way you want to look at it, in the number 22 Rocket Simsport car. There are 11 cars between Luca and Jenson. So there's 11 cars now plugging the gap between the two of them. So that shows you how the level of competition has changed, and how Luca definitely isn't going to have it his own way, as we see the cars now forming up into the 2x2 formation to take the green flag. They'll round the left-hander here, and then the final corner at Curva Misano before they prepare themselves for 60 minutes of flag-to-flag action here at Misano in the eSport Designs Cayman Supercup in association with MSL Motorsport Consultancy. Well, I hope you're strapped in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sim racing fans from every corner of the globe, because we are set for another thriller here, round 2 at Misano, as the drivers head towards the start-finish line, and they'll collect the green flag in a second. And Luca Burke already looking to get a car's length as we go green, and he's got the jump on Kev Critchley, heading down to Variante del Parco for the first time. See in behind, Jack McIntyre forced to defend contact already. McIntyre into the side of Critchley into turn 1. That's going to cause havoc down the rest of the field as they all attempt to avoid the stricken cars. McIntyre's got going again, as does Critchley, but he's dropped right down the order. That's the 39 of Pierre-Olivier Cloutier alongside. He started 21st, so that shows you the drama that has befallen 2 of the front runners early on. That might just provide Luca Burke that breathing space we've seen him take advantage of so many times as they round the first few corners. Everyone attempting to now get their race dusted off and settled back down again. There's a couple of other EGT cars that have lost out on that start. Luca Burke, 1.1 second gap already. And David, that wasn't the start we needed to see Burke be challenged.
No, absolutely not the clean start we were hoping for. A little bit too late from Jack McIntyre there. He's dropped himself down to 9th respectively as well, so something to keep an eye, see how he can get back up the field, and we'll hope for not too much damage for either of those guys. Of course, we saw one of the, I think it was the Haupt Racing and Turn 1 eSport team cars coming together into the first corner as well, but it's now very much down to Florian Bauer. What can he do? He's already 1.3 seconds off of Luca Burke, so Luca is certainly, or he's like a rat of a train pipe at the moment. He's not really hanging about, is he? So it's really for Florian at the moment, look behind you rather than ahead. So he's going to try and get himself focused early doors. See John Clements right on the back of Jack McIntyre. He's lost a couple more positions off the first couple of corners. John looking to the inside into the Curva del Caro, but doesn't manage to make it. That's Danny Geese all over him for company as well. But yeah, not the start that Kev would have wanted. And he's currently, as John Clements takes an interesting line through that second to last corner, but not the start Kev would have wanted, because he's currently outside of the points.
Well, 2 drivers that definitely made the most of the sticky situations. They run 3 wide along the start-finish straight. It's Pierre-Olivier Cloutier in the middle of Aaron Martin Bilkerton, and Ben Hitz on the run down to Variante del Parco. Aaron Martin Bilkerton on the inside, but Hitz goes all the way around the outside, and the outside becomes the inside through turn 2. Oh, there's a car off on the inside. That's Danny Grease's spin round. More contact through the middle there. They all attempt to get back on the grey stuff or dodge between the wreckage. Wow, that was another difficult situation there at the opening 2-3 corners. And that was just unsighted, wasn't he? Danny Geese spun round in the Haupt Racing, the red of those 2 cars, the number 9 there, which Aaron Martin Pilkington manages to get his way through. I was just about to praise Aaron for fighting up through the order. He started down in 20th position. He was running just outside the top 10. caught up in that one. He's now dropped back down outside the top 20 again. But here's the start, and I wonder if, David, we can spot what happened. You said it was just a case of looking like McIntyre ran in too deep. I think we're going to see a little bit of an embarrassing mistake here for the number 37.
Absolutely, yeah. You can see him there. He's behind Florian Bauer. Just seems to drop in so late. Florian does a fantastic job of getting out of the way as well. And you see Kev gets caught up with one of the EGT cars, who then taps the Haupt racing machine as well. You see, I think it's Steve Hinden spinning round, a couple of bits of contact for good measure in there as well. And we just seem to have a repeat of the same thing again. You see Aaron Martin Pilkington running slowly at the moment. He's down in 28th position. That's a real shame for the Simsport Solutions man, sitting right down the back end of the field. Jack Noller's made himself up a couple of positions, as is Jenson Button and Regan Mitchell. They're both up into the better half of the top 10 now. So it's difficult. It's one of those tracks where it's quite elusive. You might see at some points it can fit a couple of cars. You maybe go 3 wide at some areas, and we nearly saw it obviously going through the first couple of corners on the last lap. But obviously we saw, I think it was Danny Geese, you mentioned Tim facing the wrong way, and obviously you have to take avoiding action. But credit to those who had to avoid the stricken Aaron Martin Pilkington, because he seemed to, despite the fact he was doing a little bit of a pirouette to try and get us up out the other way, didn't seem to catch anyone. So really good avoiding action from some of those guys a little bit further down the field.
Number of drivers there making benefit of the bad situation, climbing up the order. Jenson Button now running in 7th after starting 12th. Alex Buncan as well up to 9th after starting 14th, as well as Kieran Vidago currently runs 10th after taking the green flag in 16th place. And here's a gaggle of cars for fun. Max Spooner up into 18th after starting at the back of the grid leads Thomas Lavoie and Steve Hinden as they battle down in towards the left hand. And wow, Hinden going all the way through the middle, and I was going to say that looked a bit too good to be true. He's off onto the runoff. I think Max Spooner went round as well, and Danny Grease is round. Those cars are starting to look a bit battered and bruised already, but I've just noticed on the timing screen, David, Jack McIntyre handed a drive-through. I wonder if that is, as of the steward's report, looking into the incident at turn 1.
I was just about to say that, Tim. Yeah, just seeing it come through. I'm sure we'll get the broadcast meshed up in a minute. But yeah, causing turn 1 collision with car number 15, which of course is that of Kev Critchley. So Jack being handed quite a hefty penalty for that incident. And to be honest, I mean, the replay, in my opinion, I know we're supposed to be impartial, but you can't shy away from the truth. He was very, very late on the brakes. Just looked like he'd overcooked it. I could think he's just dipped straight into the pits early doors to get that shifted and out of the way. But not a very sensible move. Dropped behind Florian off the start, and then yeah, fortunately has to pay the troubles and get himself a very early drive through, and that's going to shift him out, you would imagine, right to the back of the pack.
It's a shame from the 4-time British Sim champion. He's been seen to hustle Luca Burke in the SRO British GT E Series, and we were certainly hoping for him causing a pain for the reigning champion tonight. But it looks like McIntyre, if he wants to score some points, will have to put in a stellar recovery drive to get inside the top 15. So we'll keep an eye on his progress as we dip round to 54 minutes remaining. It seems like we've had an entire race already, but we're only 6 minutes into this one as Bradley Brockes in the 105 E-Team Grit car is being challenged by Kirk Heath as they look to squabble over the positions just outside the top 20. The closest battle on track at the moment. Heath tucking into the slipstream as they run down this short chute to Curva Quercia and then into the left-hander as we see Heath trying to go around the outside and cut back. That's opening the door for Stefan Bunetix in the 83. They're nearly 3 wide on the run towards Curva Tramonto. Brockie's able to just hold the position, but Heath is looking to the inside, rather defending, in fact, from Bunetix as we go picture in picture.
Oh, coming together there. Sorry, Tim.
Collision. Yeah, this 2 into 1 didn't really go there, David.
Yeah, it looked like Bradley just went really, really wide into Curva Tramonto, and as a result, I think when Stefan Bunetix is coming back inside, obviously, yeah, like you say, they just met at a point in the track where they really didn't need to, and a bit of an innocuous coming together. To be honest, it was quite a slow and almost a clumsy incident between the two of them. Al Bunker at the moment having a really good start. He's managed to get himself up into 9th place following Jack Noller, and there's a bit of a gap in front of Jack up to Jenson Button, but the real gap at the moment is that gap up in front of Luca Burke, currently 2.8 seconds ahead of Florian Bauer. Florian looks to have maybe extended a slight gap over Will Denley just to try and get himself out of that tow down the major straights across the lap, but he's not really making an indent into that lead at the front at the moment.
Burke then, the current driver, who is looking, well, untouchable at the moment. We're only 7.5 minutes into this race. Let's see if his fortunes change in the remaining 52 minutes. Al Buncombe looking for a fighting return to the series. He's chasing Jack Noller for 8th place, but in behind he's got Kieran Fidalgo and John Clements for company, so Buncombe not going to have it his own way as they go up towards Curva Tremonto, and through the right hander Buncombe can get a good exit here. He might be able to drag up towards the number 36 MSL Motorsports machine and get alongside before breaking into the right hander at Curva del Carro towards the end of the lap. But with the lights ablaze, he looks like he's just able to keep in front of the number 23 Rocket Simsport car. Ooh, closing up under brake there as we cut to a replay. This is of the incident that was involving Kirk Heath, and Brocky's, I believe, just going running very wide there, and as he tries to rejoin, Bunatix is understeering wide. It looks like poor old Steve Hinden getting caught in the crossfire there. Just an unfortunate racing incident between the guys towards the back of the grid.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. It's like I say, it could repeat back to it. A bit of a clumsy mistake from the two of them. Like I say, it was just a case of Bradley running a little bit wide. Stefan, obviously, like you say, getting a bit of understeer as he comes out of the corner. Unfortunately, that's caused them to come together at that at the exit of that corner. And unfortunate to see, but these things can happen. And it's one of those where I think you can see the race starting to settle down a little bit now, but first couple of laps with all those incidents that we did see, of course, all the stewards are looking through them as well, so any penalties that are applied we'll see over the next few minutes whilst they review them anyway. But you can really start to see everyone settling down, and we're starting to see a couple of packs form. You can see one here with Chris Crossman, Regan Mitchell and Jensen Button, to name a few. It's not the worst little list of people that you can see there. As you can see, confirmation of a drive-through for number 120 car. That's Oscar Sandberg for a collision between, I think that's James Merrills and Aaron Martin Pilkington, so he's going to be getting that slapped upon his name in a minute as well. So stewards not necessarily being too lean at the moment, but understandable considering there's been a couple of awkward incidents, should we call them, probably the best way to put it.
The stewards were quite quick to pass out the penalties, weren't they? The last race at Barcelona, we saw they were definitely earning their keep. It's interesting to see that though, David, because really setting the stall out early, letting drivers know that mistakes will be punished, in a way forces these drivers to really be at the top of their game.
Absolutely, Tim, and it is one of those where, yeah, I mean, you can't hide from it. There's 3 or 4 of them doing it. You can see there would have been a 15-second penalty for the number 9 car. That would have been, I'm trying to confirm exactly who that was because I'm still forgetting all my numbers. Danny Gieser, I think you're right, Tim. It is definitely one of the Haupt racing machines. He's actually left the service. I wonder if that'll be something they'll apply to him at some point over the next round in a week's time. So it'll be interesting to see how that does get applied. But yeah, you can just see, like I say, it's one of those where you do have to be so careful, because when you've got these live stewards watching over everything, you do have to be very aware of your surroundings in any of these incidents. If you are at fault, they will be very impartial and they will act accordingly. So definitely a benefit, but yeah, we don't want them to keep too much busier for the next 50 minutes we've got left.
So we see a 3-way battle here between Thomas Lavoie, Pierre-Olivier Cloutier, the two EGT Motorsport machines, chased on by Stijn Paspoort in the 444 Simsport racing car. He had a tough time out of Barcelona, picking up a penalty off the start. Will be looking to make amends and hopefully score some points, will Paspoort, but at the moment he's stuck behind Lavoie, who is kicking on, doesn't want to lose too much time to his teammate, as this battle down the back stretch between Chris Crossman and Regan Mitchell, who once again is well inside the point. A strong performance from the number 69 Simsport Solutions car. It's looking very strong indeed as they round the final 2 corners. This train of cars, Crossman leading Mitchell, and then Button, who's managed to latch on to the rear, as we see Paspoort getting the move done up the inside of Cloutier through the back part of the circuit, and as they come down towards Curva del Carro, the job is done. In this battle here with Crossman, Mitchell and Button, it looks like Button's been able to reel them in. I don't think Crossman and Mitchell have been losing time battling, but as you can see already, Button is wasting no time in attempting to make his presence known. He'll want to get past the number 69 as quickly as possible. It looked like he's got some good pace in the 22 Rocket Simsport car, more than he had so in qualifying. I don't think it'll be too long, David, before we see Button making a move.
No, absolutely. He seems to be putting the moves on Regan at the moment, just kind of letting him know he's there, getting in the mirrors where he needs to, and certainly closing up under brake. You see the accordion effect of these braking zones kind of coming into full effect there. You can see them obviously closing up under braking and then expanding out as they come out the corner. But Chris Crossman under a bit of pressure. Regan Mitchell on the outside into Curva Tremonto. Not really an overtaking opportunity. I wonder if he can just focus a little bit more on the exit and get the run out, because we saw Stane Passepont, as you mentioned, he managed to make the move on Pierre-Olivier Clotet on the last lap round here. Doesn't look like Regan's going to be close enough, but he's got to keep an eye on his mirrors as well, because Jenson Button was very, very close behind. You see Regan looking to the inside. Chris knows he's going to be there and he likes to cover that anyway, so it's going to be as you were for the next couple of corners, but this is not going to be the same three. They're not going to be in the same order for the next couple of minutes, I can be certain of that.
I wonder if Crossman's got the call to start backing up the pack a little bit, because his teammate Kev Critchley is he's closing in on this party. He's down in 12th position, but looking like he's fighting back up through the order. Points will be crucial for the race 1 winner if he wants to hold on to a strong championship standing, because at the moment Luca Burt looks to be running away with it with the best part of 4.5 seconds now over Florian Bauer in the number 10 Esport Designs machine. Button though looking quick through the opening sector at Variante del Parco as they go in towards the right handers at Curva del Rio and towards the inside. Button trying to force the door open. He's got the inside here, but as they flick to the left, Mitch will be able to hold the line and keep the position. Closing in behind, that's Jack Noller, who's now managed to dispense of Al Bunkum and push up towards this battle pack. Jack Noller to the outside, Button forced to defend to the inside. He's rather boxed in behind the Cayman of Regan Mitchell. A little bit of contact between Button and Mitchell. That sends both cars slightly askew, and that's going to allow Noller through the middle as they come up towards Curva Tremonto. He's going to go round the outside. Can he complete what would be a spectacular move? No. As he cuts back though on Mitchell, Noller goes from what must have been 9th up to 6th in the space of 2 corners down the back stretch. It could be all change again with Button in the slipstream, side by side with Mitchell as they go through Curvone. But the number 22 looks to be past the Simsport Solutions car. Fantastic heads-up driving there from Jack Noller.
And fantastic camera work from Steve Proudley, our broadcast director as well. We can't say any fairer than that. He managed to catch literally everything in that. And amazingly, Tim, that's managed to give Chris Crossman a 2-second gap through the middle sector of that lap between all of those guys coming together. And what a move from Jack Noller. I'm sure he'll be very pleased to talk to anyone after tonight and just say to people, by the way, I went through the middle of 2 cars, one of which was a Formula 1 world champion, so I'm sure he'll be pretty pleased with himself. But he's still got him to keep an eye out for. Regan Mitchell dropping into the clutches of Al Bunkum a little bit, which is interesting. He looked like he was going to be putting a move on Chris Crossman, but he's now dropping back towards the other Rocket Simsport machine. It's really interesting to note, Tim. I've been keeping an eye on the Rocket Simsport guys and just how they've been performing. It does look as though they've got their setup really dialed in for this first sector of that, because all 3 of those cars look so much quicker than everyone else through this first technical section, and they're really looking to make the moves at that point.
As we see the battle for second place, it looks like Dendy's got past Florian Bauer, who attempted to fight back into Curva Grcia, unable to get the job done as they're going to run side by side up towards Curva Tremonto. But it looks like Dendy's got the move done as they drop the anchor into the right-hander. The number 28 car taking second place now, and will be looking to do his best to kick on to close what is now in the best part of 5.5 seconds. 5.1 seconds. Well, look at that. It's gone out even further thanks to these 2 battling. Nearly 7 seconds between Luca Burke and the podium sitters as it stands. As we see Jenson Button, fantastic camera shot there, flying through Curvone side by side with Jack Noller through the right-hander. Can he get the job done? Yes, he's up there. There's a contact behind. Lots of contact there. That looked like Regan Mitchell and Bunkum were the worst out of that one. That's going to allow John Clements through, potentially Kieran Fadago caught up in that one. Yes, the number 4 Simsport racing car looks to have come off worse. Al Bunkum just manages to get the car going. That was, we say it's 2 into 1 doesn't go, David, but that was the better part of 5 cars into 1's not going to go.
I mean, it was always going to end in tears, wasn't it, Tim? I mean, fantastic racing from all of them. It's such a shame it had to end with that it's one of those parts of the track where it's just so quick, and even one little bite of understeer or any loss of control in the car will cause that kind of thing. That was a hot potato I moved in my ear from broadcast director Steve Proudley. Fantastic work on the camera system, and the static camera really caught all of that in its glory. It's a real shame it had to end like that. You're seeing David Bellinger getting a 15-second penalty for his troubles. I wonder if that's been any contact. We'll get that from the stewards hopefully in the next couple of minutes. Al Buncombe with the drive-through. Interestingly, I'm not seeing anything on the stewards report suggesting why that would be the case. I wonder if that's simply just an early warning, an early set of warnings for track limits potentially, which is, well, considering he's only less than 20 minutes in, really early to get that slapped on him at this moment in time.
I'd be surprised considering how hard the number 23 Rocket Simsport Cup driver was pushing in those opening few laps. As we see, there's the penalty for David Bellinger in the number 222, 15 seconds contact with Steve Hinden in a slow rejoin, and then having contact again with Aaron Martin Pilkington. So double whammy for the EGT Motorsports driver. You see the battle here between Kirk Heath and Steve Hinden. Steve looking to try and get up into the points. He's got a couple of positions to do so if he wishes to add to his 1 point that he achieved in Barcelona. John Clements coming under fire from Kev Critchley, who, David, would have benefited massively from all that drama. Running outside the top 10, he was in 12th last time I looked, now up to 9th, looking like he's challenging Clements for 88. For 88, sorry, he's number 8, 4-8, sorry, all the 8s, you get me 8s confused. This is somewhat of a better situation considering Critchley was right down the order at the start. Oh, it's a brilliant recovery drive so far. I think the lowest I caught him on the standings after that first lap coming together with Jack McIntyre was 20th, so he's done an absolutely fantastic job. Of course, like you say, there has been a few incidents that have given him some more positions than he would have expected in the first place, but you can't say any fairer. He has made some overtakes on track. We're going to go to a replay, I understand, for the coming together around the back end of the track between any number of cars. You see we've got 1, 2, 3, 6 cars all coming together here. You can see Jack Nolan, Jenson Button, Regan Mitchell at the front end, and you've got Al Buncombe, and you've got Kieran Vidal on one of the podium Simsport machines there, and you can see, Kieran Vidal getting a little bit of that shape. He's actually one who caused it, interestingly, caught up at Al Buncombe, who then hit Jack Nolan, who managed to stay on the right end of the track, and then got up with Regan Mitchell as well. So, yeah, interesting. It wasn't expecting that to have been anything to do with Kieran, to be completely honest with you. Well, if the stewards needed a replay to help make their decision, I think that might have just been the camera angle they needed. We'll see if the stewards, how they look on that one with Kieran Vidal. I'd like to say is clearly the aggressor there in that situation, but I feel like it was a pinball situation, and slight contact with the side of Buncombe really sent off a chain reaction and plenty of cars sent spinning. But Luca Burke leading out front, over 8 seconds now is the gap to Will Dendy. Kev Critchley on screen, looking like he's on the move again. Clements still in front of him, and that's Jack Noller, who potentially is carrying damage from the incidents that we've seen, is in 7th place and could be falling back. So we see the number 83 handed a penalty. That's Stefan Bunetic being handed 15 seconds for the contact with the number 105, which I believe is one of the E-team. Yeah, Bradley Brockies, I imagine that, Tim, is the incident we saw on the back end, on the entry into, or the exit, sorry, of Curva Tremonto. So he's been pinned a penalty for that clumsy incident we saw a couple of laps back. So the stewards not letting anything slip, whether it's towards the podium and the top 10 or whether it's further down the order. Critchley now looking to ensure some more points against his name as he charges up towards John Clements, who in turn getting caught up behind Jack Noller there through the left-hander, and that's going to open the door for Critchley to go around the outside, but he elects to just back off slightly. The front end of that BD Racing Cayman looking rather second-hand, so I wonder if he is carrying any damage that might lead to some negative handling characteristics, as the lot of them are closing up on Jenson Button as well, who must also be carrying damage. So some interesting races we're going to have here. It's almost like a pit stop strategy race that rather hasn't been brought around by pit stops, but some cars must be carrying front end damage. And David, once you've taken a knock, trying to drive around an issue like that for the remaining 40 minutes or so, it's not the easiest thing. No, absolutely, Tim. It's just going to cause so much understeer for these guys, and especially when you come around the back end of the track like we were there as the sun's now setting at this Mezzano circuit.
it's one of those where you're lifting off is honestly one of the worst things you have to do. So you're just trying to compensate for it in other areas. And Kev seems to be managing it really well at the moment. He's absolutely pinned onto the back of that PSR machine of John Clements. He's going to make a move into the first couple of quarters. He doesn't, not close enough that time. And John just shuts the door. I've seen a drive through a little bit further down for Oscar Sandberg as well, which again looks to be a drive-through for track limits. Not seeing anything from the stewards to suggest anything otherwise. So again, another car who's been done for track limits and maybe being a little bit too aggressive on the white stuff around the edges of the track, unfortunately.
A couple of cars then, or race leaders having to deal with traffic. Luca Burke making his way past Pierre-Olivier Cloutier on the run-up towards Curve Tremonto, as well as Will Dendy and Florian Bauer getting past a couple of back markers. As we see, a little dangerous dive to the inside from Kev Critchley. John Clements just able to close the door through the left-hander, and rather, I say close the door, slam it in the face of the Barcelona race winner. I say not coming through just yet as they run up towards Toronto. That's Jack Noller running slightly wide though. That's opening the door for Clements as they head towards the back section of the track, where it's just pedal to the floor and keep it pinned as they run through a couple of right-hand kinks. It looks like Clements is tucked up right behind Noller. You can barely separate these three with a piece of paper, running towards the difficult right-hander here as they manage to get through just cleanly. Clements, though, is looking like he wants to get a move done on Noller into the right-hander. They all managed to get it slowed up nicely and cleanly, crucially. No contact between any of them into the final few corners. And I feel like Kev Critchley is either unable to get past these guys now, or he's going to start losing that momentum, David. We've seen it where, you know, once you're carrying more speed than other drivers, once you've got that lap performance, you really need to catch up, get past and kick on to make the next position, because find yourself stuck behind, it's very tricky to get the job done.
Absolutely, Tim, and I do wonder whether it's I don't want to say this in a harsh way, but it seems to me as if Jack is not holding these two up, but I think he's the one who's really stopping Kev from getting himself a bit further at the field. I wonder if Jack wasn't in front of these two, then Kev would probably be past John Clements quite easily. I think he's clearly got the pace differential, but I think John's obviously benefiting from the fact he's got Jack in front of him and giving him that extra bit of toe, giving him that slipstream and that extra straight line speed. And Jack is the cork in what's not a very full bottle. There's only two of them behind him, but he seems to be keeping his behind a bit. And I do wonder how long it will be until they can maybe get round the MSL Motorsport, the JPS special liveried car, and wonder if they can set their sights on Jenson Button and Chris Cosman just ahead of them, because they've only got a couple of seconds to gain, so still plenty of time to do that.
Noller managing to round Tremonto much cleaner that time than on the previous tour, as we see a penalty 15 seconds handed to the number 9, which I'm convinced is Danny Beasley, the Haupt Racing team. Contact with the number 626 Aaron Martin Bilkerton into a braking zone, causing the spin. The driver has retired following that, as we see Clements closer than he has been to Noller on the run down towards Curva del Caro, unable to make the move that time. 34 and a quarter minutes remaining in this race. You get the feeling, like David said, that Noller might just be the slowest out of this trio, but he's doing the right things to keep those cars behind. He's not letting slip and making a mistake. So if Noller can keep going like this for the remaining 34 minutes, he's going to bag himself a very happy P7. As we see on your screen, Florian Bauer is now looking to fight back against Will Dendy in the battle for second place. The two of them separated by a matter of tenths, 4 tenths at the line, but closing up to 3 tenths through that opening sector. Bauer's going to be benefiting from the slipstream. There's no traffic around them at the moment, although they are catching up towards the number 63, which is of Max Spooner. They've got a little bit of time before they get there and have to negotiate the Team Brit car as they round up towards Tremonto. And Florian looking to bag himself his first podium in the series, and he was pretty pleased with his result last time. Judging by the level of competition, he said he was happy to be up in towards the points and in towards the sharp end of proceedings with a P7 at Barcelona. As we see the battle raging on between Clements, it looks like he'd managed to get the overlap on Noller, but no, and that's allowing Critchley even closer I didn't think it was possible, David. These three Caymans are as close as they have been, if not even closer.
Absolutely, yeah. You can barely put a piece of paper between them, as you said before, and it's only going to get closer and closer as I see all very, very close. John Clements behind Jack Noller there. He's ever so close. A little bit of a tap there, it seems. Yeah, Jack Noller getting a little bit out of shape. It would be sensible for John just to back out a little bit. That does allow Kev Critchley a chance to open at the door. Of course, we're going to a left-hander now, so Kev's going to have to back out of that as they go through the last couple of corners on this lap. But it is a case of, I wonder if John rather is getting a little bit antsy, a little bit frustrated getting stuck up behind Jack. But fair play to Jack. He's got no obligation to let the podium sim racing car pass, and he's putting it in all of the right places. What a move there from Kev Critchley, goodness me. I thought he was going to make that stick. He's just managed to catch a little bite and oversteer into the first couple of corners of Variante del Parco. But if he'd have made that move, that would have been opportunistic personified. Unfortunately, Tim, just didn't quite pay off.
It looked like Clements was getting frustrated with Noller, so he was flashing the lights and moving about on the track. And little did he know that Critchley was getting a brilliant run out of the final corner at Curva Misano and getting the run up towards the first couple of turns. So that slight exchange of words between the two of them has seen them drop off the back of the MSL Motorsport's car, and that is allowing Ben Hitz to close in. That gap has halved in the previous 2 or 3 laps as this trio set about knocking a few dents into each other, to say the least, as they come towards Tremonto. Hitz is now 1.3 seconds back, so this battle for 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. It's just up the road. Jenson Button in the 22 Rocket Simsports car has now got Chris Crossman for company, the driver of the number 3 BD Racing machine, 7/10ths back from the Formula 1 2009 World Champion. So it's closing up just outside the top 5 positions at the moment, as Will Dendy is now 10 seconds off the back of Luke Burke, with Florian Bauer still a few tenths in, and Ross McGregor rather stuck in no man's land in 4th place at the moment. As we see, Clements is really keen to get past, and do you feel like you say, Noller's got no obligation to let them through. In the meantime, he's doing exactly what he needs to keep these guys behind. Absolutely, yeah. Fantastic drive from Jack so far. And I think he, as you mentioned, Tim, obviously when you spoke to him last week at the race at Catalonia, he did say he wasn't particularly familiar, nigh uncomfortable with the. Oh, sorry, a little bit of contact there between Will Dendy and Florian Bauer. Florian's going to sit back on that one. Gives him a little bit of a nub tap, just to remind him that he is still very close behind him at this moment in time, and they've just managed to all keep it in a straight line. But yeah, Jack did mention to you he wasn't particularly comfortable with this Misano circuit, so to be in 7th and keeping these guys behind, as Florian Bauer goes through moving to Curva Quercia this time, doesn't manage to make it this time around either. I think, yeah, like you say, fantastic job from Jack so far to keep 2 what it seems to be very quick guys behind him. As Florian Bauer attempts to line up a pass around the outside of Will Dendy for 2nd place into Tremonto. Doesn't get the job done, but he might be able to get the cut back on this long back stretch. We're just seeing confirmation from race control. Drive-through penalty handed out to Kieran Vidago for that contact with Alex Bunker, which caused a larger incident with multiple cars, is the ruling from the stewards on that one. And we did see that contact. It looked like Vidago just got a little bit unsettled into Carbone, and that caused the incident, but Vidago will have to serve that drive-through penalty shortly. He is in 13th place at the moment. He'll drop back down the order. Unfortunately, some multiple second gaps actually behind him might help in his favour as he attempts to recover from that penalty. As we head now into the second half of this race, Luke Burke leads the way after 18 laps with a gap of 11 seconds, nearly 12 seconds over Will Dendy and Florian Bauer, who are locked in battle for 2nd and 3rd. Then Ross McGregor of Simsport, the number 33, is in 4th place, ahead of Jenson Button and Chris Crossman, who are battling out for 5th and 6th. Then it's the battle we've seen plenty of this evening. Jack Noller, John Clements and Kev Critchley, 7th, 8th and 9th on screen at the moment. The Barcelona race winner looking to fight back following a difficult and calamitous start, with many cars facing the wrong way at Variante del Parco. Then Ben Hitz in the Haupt Racing number 6 is in 10th place, 1.7 seconds back from this battling trio. Regan Mitchell in 11th in the 69 Simsport Solutions machine, with Bastian Zenefeld Stein Passport running in the points the first time in his time in this series, and Kieran Vidago currently running in 14th, but likely to drop down with that drive-through penalty. And Thomas Lavoie in the number 20 EGT Motorsports car in 15th, rounding out your points-paying positions as we head into the final 28 minutes of the race. And Kev Critchley is still hounding the back of John Clements. He's going to know the rear livery of that podium Simracing Cayman very well come the end of this one if he's unable to make the move. But just as Critchley's looking to get slightly agitated by being behind the number 88, Clements again is closing up on Jack Noller and attempting to make the move down towards Curva del Carro. Has he got the overlap as he goes to the inside? Just about. He's all four wheels over the white line and over the track there, but Noller able to sweep around the outside and hold on to 7th place into the final sector. Noller is not rolling over and letting this duo through, David.
No, absolutely. He's making that Cayman as wide as I've ever seen it. It feels like he can almost span the entire width of the track. He just seems to have this ability so far throughout this race to just put that Cayman, that JPS livery car into the right position every single time. You see Kev Critchley trying to look for a little bit of an opportunistic move there, as he's now got Aaron Martin Pilkington closely following behind Kirk Heath. So Aaron managing to get back into the race, right down at the back of the pack after a couple of incidents he was caught up in the first few laps. He's certainly been a bit of a magnet towards activity over the last couple of races, that's for sure. And I'm sure he'll be hoping for a slightly less eventful race next time out in a week's time. But see Jack Noller giving the back markers a bit of a flash of the lights there. That's one of the ET brick cars that they're going past. I think that's Max Spooner there they're going past, so he's managed to get himself out of the way as they come into Curva Quercia. John Clements going a little bit wide. That's going to open the door for Kev Critchley, but remember, we're going into a double apex right-hander in the next corner, so it's just going to be much. The thought for Kev now is going to be get a good exit, try and get the run on him and see if we can make a move. But I'm amazed him that these guys are still in the same order, and I'm convinced that's not going to be the same case for much longer.
Let's see, because with 26 minutes to go, Noller's done the job so far of keeping Clements and Critchley at bay. Critchley, obviously race winner last time out in Barcelona, I'm sure would be hoping to be further up the field than this. In fact, he's dropped off the back of this duo now over this lap, and say that he closes right up through Curva del Carro. So this trio very much ebbing and flowing, the gaps extending and then shrinking as they almost round every single apex of this Misano circuit. Critchley, race winner, like I say, leading the point standings at the moment, but down the order in 9th would surely come under fire from some close competition with the likes of Florian Bauer running 3rd and Ross McGregor in 4th place again. So we could see the championship change significantly after this second round as we ride on board with the MSL Motorsport number 36, looking back at John Clements, and Kev Critchley follows on in close company through the double right at Rio and into the left, where it's easy to get pinged for track limits, as it seems to be at almost every corner around the 4.226 kilometre circuit here at Misano. Clements closing up in the slipstream, just unable to get the job done on the brakes as Critchley looks to the inside, deep on the brakes, gets the job done. A little bit of a love tap just for safekeeping, and gets the move done. Clements, if he wasn't frustrated already by having to stare at the back of the black and gold MSL car, David, he's going to be even more frustrated now that the BD Racing Machine's got through.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that was a wonderful move from Kev. A little bit of a love tap, like you say, on the way out of the corner. I don't think there's going to be too much coming from the stewards on that one. It was just a case of John really just kind of turning in where Kev literally just appeared out of nowhere. It was a fantastic move. Left it late on the brakes and managed to make the position up past him. Now he's got to focus on Jack. As you can see, we've got this wonderful view from the back splitter of Jack Noller's MSL Motorsport machine, number 36 Cayman. And he's now got a different colour car in the rear view mirror of him, but still something to keep an eye on. And interestingly, Tim, Florian Bauer in the pits. What's caused that?
We'll have to see. That's not good at all for the number 10 eSport Designs machine. It looks like there's no reason for penalty as I look on the stewards report. They note the slight bump between the number 10 and 28 on the previous lap. That's Will Dendy and Florian Bauer, who were battling hard for second place. So not too sure why the number 10 car has trundled down pit lane, but that's going to benefit these drivers, being Jack Noller, Kev Critchley and John Clements, and potentially even more drivers as the number 10 is still in pit lane. So we'll have to see what happens then. Not quite sure why Florian would go to pit lane unless he's got damage that he needs to repair. He looks like he's rolling now and rejoins the track, but well down the order. He's going to be outside the top 10. That's going to elevate Ross McGregor to the podium positions with 23 minutes to go. So we'll have to see what happens. Hopefully we'll hear from Florian post-race. I hope he doesn't think that they need to make a pit stop, David. That would be embarrassing.
That wouldn't be ideal, would it? I'm sure Florian's very aware of it. I know, always interestingly, we've just seen Critchley on the outside of the track there, Tim, in the background. I don't know what's happened to him now. Hopefully we'll be able to get confirmation of what happens. That's obviously released Jack Nolan to a little bit of space. Ben Hitz is there as well. So I wonder if it's a coming together between Clements and Critchley, because they're both drifting down the timing charts. But yeah, really odd one for Florian there. I can't imagine, I know he takes part in so many different championships, because I've been chatting with him over the last couple of weeks. I know he's busy doing all sorts of stuff in the Cayman and other classes as well, but I'd like to think that, seeing as he's on the eSport Designs team for this season, you'd like to think that team manager and organiser Steve Hinden's probably given him a little bit more of a briefing for these races than anyone else so far.
Drilled it into him is the phrase you're looking
Absolutely.
for. As we see, Luca Burke, race leader, out ahead of everyone and anything at the moment. Just seeing that although Critchley run into trouble as well, championship contender Jack McIntyre handed a drive-through penalty, the number 37. There's no reason, justification for that penalty on my timing screen and steward's report list, so that must be for track limits, as Kurt Keith in the 121 picks up a drive-through as well. So a number of drivers picking up these penalties, which we can only assume are for track limits, and McIntyre serves it straight away. Already outside of the points, he's going to be further down the order as the driver currently second in the standings after pole position and a second place finish at the opening round at Barcelona. But this change here from Florian Bauer heading to pit lane has it's rather secured Will Dendy's position in second, although it be 12.5 seconds off the back of Luca Burke. And then it's enabled Ross McGregor to get up into the podium. As we see, this is the incident with Critchley in the middle of the pack. Clements around the outside, just contact to the rear, has spun round the 15, and as he's probably got full lock on the wheel to get the thing straightened up, David, it's snatched and gone the other way. Yeah, absolutely. A bit of a double tap there from John, and I can see as well, just confirmation coming through, that he's actually been slapped the 15-second penalty for that as well. So as if the contact from them wasn't enough, and the frustration he's arguably had, and I can't say I blame him for being stuck behind the brilliant defensive work of Jack Noller, and then obviously Kev getting past him. I wonder if that's the straw that broke the camel's back, and 15-second penalty to add to your troubles is not ideal in the slightest, but it's not really helped Kev in the grander scheme of things, because John's already given the position basically confirmation of that there, the 88 spin and the 15 off, which is exactly what we just mentioned. And unfortunately for Kev, that shifted him back down to 9th, and he was up in 7th, so he's now got Regan Mitchell and Ben Hitz to circumnavigate before he can get back on and see if he's got the chance to claw back Jack Noller. But with 20 minutes to go, about 6 seconds gap between them between 6th and 9th. It seems like that might be a little bit too far to travel in the time that remaining. Wonder though if fired up Critchley can get anything done. I wouldn't be surprised to see him give it a very good shot. Currently 9th. I wouldn't want to say it was a lucky 9th considering the drama he's been in, but to be inside the top 10 and still walking away from this race with some points, we head into the final third of this round 2 at Misano. I'm sure Critchley will be happy to walk away from this one with some tallies against his name, as we see Oscar Sandberg looking to the inside of Bradley Brockies and getting the job done pretty easily into Curva del Caro. No real fight from the E-Team Brit number 105 there. Oscar Sandberg, who we saw at the sharp end of the running plenty of times last season, but he doesn't make it easy for himself qualifying further down the order. We heard that from him a few times last season. He's saying if only I could get inside the top 10 higher up the grid, he would find himself fighting for the podium and maybe even more. He had a best qualifying of 3rd twice actually at Imola and Kyalami, so we might hopefully we see the Nürburgring 24-hour category winner get his qualifying sorted and fighting higher up the order with. So we see Thomas Lavoie here, in the number 20 EGT Motorsports machine, fighting Steve Hinden, who's now 14th, so he's bettering his result than Barcelona, running round inside the points. About 7.8 seconds off staying past point on the 444 Simsport racing car, but these two separated by the better part of 0.6 of a second. Look like they might be going to battle in the remaining 18 minutes of this one. And Steve, he enjoys the competition, doesn't he, David? He enjoys just the level of skill and ability that's in this grid. So to be inside the points for anyone really here, it's an achievement in itself.
Absolutely, yeah. Steve is, he's very humble in what he's achieved. He's done a fantastic job getting this together, not only for the first season, but to have to put on the display and offer the quality that we've had in the first 1.5 races. And nearly 2 so far this season is nothing short of incredible work from himself. I know how much he works on this as well as other stuff in his day-to-day as well. So yeah, to have the chance to be fighting with the people that he is and to be able to get a couple of points on the board is a nice little cherry on top as well. And he's doing a fantastic job so far, especially considering, of course, we saw him in the wars a little bit at the front. We see that eSport Designs car is a little bit worse, where a couple of bits of paint flickering off at the moment, where he's been caught in a couple of accidents. But yeah, very decent recovery drive indeed, but no one's really lit a torch to the man we can see on camera now, Luca Bert, 12.8 seconds ahead at the front. He has been untouchable throughout this entire race so far.
I'm going to say this deliberately as an attempted commentator's curse to spice things up, but Burke looks like he's got it wrapped up this evening. So there we go, got that one in. Let's see if things kick off in the final 16. Yeah, I did it deliberately, David. That was my attempt to spice this one up for the race win. But actually, talking about that and talking about getting the car home, we did see on a couple of occasions last season, particularly, I believe the race was the Nürburgring, where Luca was out front, fairly unchallenged, despite the closest qualifying that we've had in the eSports Cayman Supercup. But he did make a couple of mistakes, didn't he, David? And we saw the likes of Jenson Button and Al Buncombe closing up on him. So the race is far from over with 15 minutes to go.
Oh, 100%, yeah. I mean, like everyone, he's not impervious to any sort of mistakes. He's clearly, the proof is in the pudding. He is a very, very quick driver. However, like you say, no one is beyond susceptible to mistakes. It could even be, obviously, we know, he's clearly running quick laps. He's 6/7 of a second quicker. You can see he's using all parts of the curb. There's nothing to stop him potentially from having a track limit violation, getting a penalty for a drive-through penalty for his troubles if he's not too careful. I'm sure he'll be very aware of that. He's got plenty of a gap behind him to not have to worry too much about that. But yeah, always something to keep an eye out for.
David's with his direct line to the stewards there, saying that if they want to just give him a drive-through to spice things up. No, they wouldn't dare. They wouldn't dare with the team from Race Department and Grid Finder. So fantastic to see the race policed so well. Again, no incident going amiss. And it's nice to know that the result that you have at the end of the race is the result of the running, no post-race inspections. We see Kieran Vidago here looking to fight past Aaron Martin Pilkington, the pair of them battling after what's been a tricky race for the pair of them. The number 4 leading the 626 at the moment. Vidago obviously handed a penalty for that multiple car collision in the opening 20 minutes, and Aaron Martin Pilkington seems to have been the pinball in the machine this evening, unfortunately. Handed knocked around a fair few times more than he would have liked to this evening, Aaron, but these guys kicking on, potentially trying to work together to close what is a 4.2 second gap to the tail end of the points, which is Thomas Lavoie in the number 20 EGT Motorsports car. And here's a performance that I think we've shone a light on already and mentioned that Jack McIntyre was struggling a little bit in qualifying. Then he managed to turn that one on its head and get up towards the sharp end. But down in 20th place after a tricky start, this is going to turn the championship right on its head, David.
Absolutely, yeah. Obviously, you've got Luca Bert top of the charts at the moment, so he's going to be putting a really good display in for his points. Of course, it's not necessarily one of those where if you drop really far, if you drop you're still going to get a really good, decent amount of points. It's 25 for the winner, 23 for the second, 20 for third, 18, 15, 13, 11, 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all the way down to 15th. So there's still plenty of points up for grabs, and it is one of those where Ross McGregor really is in prime position to do his championship all sorts of good, because obviously 4th in the first round at Catalunya, and he's third at the moment. So in theory, you'd expect he's probably going to be the one who's going to be the biggest beneficiary out of this race. But Luca Burke is going to be looking to take, presumably, full points. He's going to be taking the full 27 available with the pole position, which he already has. And I can only assume, Tim, he's probably, it's just a thought, he might have the fastest lap at the moment as well.
And he will have a very nice set of grid finder gloves going his way if he has set the fastest lap. I do believe I saw a little purple dot appear next to his name in the opening few laps, but there's so much drama going on. I wasn't too sure, but we'll have a look through the timing screen and see if we can find who has currently got the fastest lap. In fact, yes, just as I say that, it looks like I found it. Car number 87, Luca Burke, setting a 1:42.009, so fastest lap of the race is going the way of Luca Burke at the moment. Jack McIntyre now attempting to make a move on Darrell Upton, who raced with us last season. A best result coming the opening round at Imola, 13th place, but has found himself more often in the outskirts of the top 20 as McIntyre goes to the outside into turn 1, but just can't get the job done there. Upton has the high ground and opts to defend his position very cleanly indeed. McIntyre, though, will need to finish the race because, as we mentioned, bonus 7 points for finishing every single round. So it is important to stay out there on track and collect the checkered flag, because those 7 points could be very crucial come the end of the race. But out of the Rio curves and on towards this short shoot down towards Quercia, it looks like he's got the overlap on the number 21 Podium Sim Racing car, and he's through up the inside. Job done for McIntyre, although Upton's sure to try and fight back. It looks like McIntyre's got the job done and up to 19th place. As we see, Hits now really has closed up this gap to Nola, who in turn looks like they've got a bit of traffic in front of them. That's one of the Team Brit cars there. I believe that is in 25th position. That is, scroll down my time screen, Bradley Brockey's now moving aside very cleanly and sensibly to let the drivers fighting for 6th and 7th through. But their battling is allowing Regan Mitchell to close up slightly, and it's allowing Kev Critchley to claw back some time. So it'll be interesting to see if Hits, he'll be the third driver attempting to get past Nola, but Nola's been able to do the job of making that Cayman very wide this evening.
Absolutely, and what a livery car to do it in as well. That John Player special livery looking beautiful this evening. I've just noticed as well, Tim, John Clements, getting a drive-through penalty, presumably for track limits as well. So just double whammy on there, because he's still got that 15-second time penalty to his name for that coming together with Kev Critchley. So he's going to be out of the points completely. That's going to mean that the battle between Kieran Vidago and Aaron Martin Pilkington is going to be for points now, interestingly, between the Simsport Solutions and Simsport Racing machines. And I've just noticed there from this beautiful kind of front left tyre camera, I don't know how you'd mount a camera there without that getting knocked off at any point, but Ben Hits electing to flash the headlights at Jack Nolan. Not the first time Jack's seen those headlights in his rearview mirrors this evening, but I credit to the lad, as nothing seems to have put him off, and he's driven a fantastic race, especially considering, as I mentioned many times already throughout tonight's broadcast, not a track he's overly familiar with. So fantastic work from him.
He's probably got a hotkey on his keyboard to turn the virtual mirror off, because the last thing he needs is another Cayman flashing the lights at him this evening. He's now got the bright orange Hout Racing number 6 of Ben Hits closing up on him, and it looks like Nola's just able to continue doing the job he's done all evening and running in 6th place. He'll be very happy with that result. Obviously, he's taking a rather surprise podium in 3rd place last time out. He was battling with Regan Mitchell in the closing stages on very old tyres, but was able to keep his position because of Mitchell picking up a drive-through penalty in the closing stages, and Mitchell just towards the back of shot there in the black and white Simsport Solutions machine is currently running in 8th and keeping up that record of finishing every single one of these eSport designed Cayman races in the points, as we see Jack McIntyre heading to pit lane in the number 37 Sancho Simsport machine and dropping down the order. So Hits now on screen, 0.8 of a second back from Nola, who looks to have extended the gap over this lap. So I wonder if it's just a case of Nolo's very used to running round on worn tyres, and that experience of being left out on old rubber around Barcelona is starting to pay off as we head into the final 8 minutes. As the track begins to cool even more, so down to 15 degrees, the sun looking like it's nearly set over the horizon here on the Adriatic coast at Misano. Drivers, the headlights becoming more and more prominent. And those headlights of Ben Hitz not quite close enough to be causing Nola a headache at the moment, as we see the drivers battling for 6th and 7th place. Mitchell is starting to close in, and he's bringing Critchley with him. The gap's now down to 2.6 seconds. Bastian Zenefels as well up inside the top 10 at the moment. And Bastian's one of those drivers, David, that we saw him with a very strong start last season, up on towards the sharp end at Imola. But since then, we haven't really seen him fulfill his potential. I think he's one of those drivers we speak about a lot, but he's never really on the podium or in that top 5.
Yeah, I think he's one of those who, again, as we've seen with quite a few people, has just maybe been a bit unfortunate with being in the wrong place at the wrong time, to coin the phrase. And he's been caught up in a few instances, of course, in season 1. Didn't, like say, see too much of what he could do in the race last week at Catalunya. Again, he was caught up in a few instances there, and I'd be hard pushed to find you a list of drivers who hadn't got caught up in the first few laps worth of incidents, barring Luca Berg, who of course just disappeared off into the distance really and kind of watched it all happening in his rearview mirror. But yeah, unfortunate for Bastian. Like I say, he's clearly a quick guy. He's got Florian Bauer just under 2 seconds back. Of course, Florian having to drop into the pits halfway through the race. Hopefully, she said we'll be able to chat with him at the end and understand what happened. Hopefully it's not anything too serious, and he's not had any significant issues. Hopefully, again, as well, like you say, not a misunderstanding with the pit strategy that he needs to run in this shorter 60-minute race. But yeah, with the last 6 minutes to go, Bastian's got a couple of seconds grace for him, as does Jack Noller, who's got half a second back to Ben Hitz, but that gap is looking very close indeed at the moment.
It's around the Curva del Rio here, and then through the left-hander. I wonder, David, if we're going to have to start looking towards the left-hand side of the screen, just in case any drivers towards the final 6 minutes make the mistake of treading over track limits one too many times and pick up what could be a race-deciding penalty, as we see Hitz there actually running 4 wheels off the track. Hopefully a part of the track where he can do that safely, as we cut to Luca Berg doing the same, all 4 wheels over the white lines. So we need to keep an eye out on that left-hand side of the screen, the little red boxes that appear next to the driver's name when they've been handed a penalty. But pushing on, still extending that gap now, 16.2 seconds to Will Dendy, as Hitz is really unable to close up on the back of Jack Noller. These two drivers very much enjoying the level of competition. Hitz, spoke to him before the start of the season. He was very happy to be taking part and competing, and really just looking forward to seeing how he compared to the competition.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, sorry, Tim, go on.
I was just going to say, and I'm sure we'll see plenty more from him as the season progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, he's clearly a quick guy. I mean, he was obviously caught up in one of the many instances over the first couple of laps, so maybe a bit of damage is preventing him from having too much top end on the back straight, because like you say, he's really not having much of a chance of catching up with Jack through those last couple of corners. He seems to have a little bit more pace potentially through the first sector and the final sector, but then on the 2 main straights, obviously got the back straight coming up in a minute, and the proper back straight down through Curvonia and Curva Tremonto doesn't really seem to be gaining too much time. So I wonder whether Jack might well potentially, barring any mistakes or anything like that, of course, might potentially be safe for 6th place. The one I'm focusing on, Tim, is the fact that Jenson Button is only 8/10 of a second back from current 3rd place man Ross McGregor. So that final step of the podium still yet to be decided, as you see Ben Hitz going a little bit wide once more out of Cuerva-Kirscher.
So as we see then some battles closing up in the final 3 minutes, and here is that battle for the final step on the podium. Jenson Button currently in 4th in the number 22 Rocket Esports machine, closing in though on the back of Ross McGregor, who's got all kinds of traffic in front of him, multiple cars a lap down, so you've got to negotiate as they run through the right-hander there. Button able to follow him through and close up very much so. The number 13 of Periliga Clotier getting very close through the left-hander there. I'm not sure Pierre understood that it was a lapped car coming through, not a battle for position. So you've got the two Turn 1 Esports cars running in formation in front. That's Oscar Sandberg and Kirk Heath down the order in 20th and 21st. In fact, these four cars that McGregor and Button are having to negotiate are all fighting for position. So they're coming across some very intense traffic indeed in the final 3 minutes, probably 2 or 3 laps to go at most. Far from settled here, and really McGregor needs to just pick his move and get the job done on traffic as quickly as possible, because Button is closing up at a rate of knots.
Absolutely, to me. Look at it now. There's barely even a car length between them. Ross McGregor's really been disserviced by the back marks at the moment. It's a real shame for him, but it's not really a huge amount he can do. Like you said, they are battling and they're in their own battle. He's managed to shift one up the inside of Oscar Sandberg. I think that is. Sorry, that's actually Kirk Heath. My apologies. In the first of the two Turn 1 Esport cars, Jenson Button now going to look for a move up into Tremonto. She's going to send it down the inside, coming together between the two of them there. He's managed to make it a little bit more aggressive than you would have expected. Kirk Heath flashing the lights. I don't really think he's got too much to answer for, to be honest. If you've got someone like Jensen, in fact, if you've got anyone who's a lap ahead of you coming up behind you, realistically, you should be just shifting out of the way, regardless of the battle, but just trying not to inconvenience yourself too much. And I think he's probably done himself more damage by doing what he did, but still one more for them to negotiate, like you say, Tim, as it looks like we're coming on to what is going to be the penultimate lap, because Luca Burke's crossed the start-finish straight, so there's going to be 2 more laps, I believe. You see him there in the picture-in-picture coming through the first chicane. So still a couple of laps for Jensen to try and get himself a late podium and trying to atone for some of the issues that he had in the first race at Catalunya.
McGregor gets all kinds of crossed up on the exit of the final corner. That's allowing Button to really tuck in behind the number 33 Zansho Simsport car as they run towards the first chicane through the right and the left. It just looks like Button's got more grip and more ability through the change of direction than his Zansho Simsport competitor, as David alluded to earlier. These Rocket Esports cars look mighty fine in this opening sector. That's Oscar Sandberg getting right out of the way through Curva del Rio, and that's going to allow this battle to play out cleanly through the final minute and the final 2 laps of this race at Misano. Button getting a good run out of the left-hander and on the run down towards Quercy. Looks towards the inside just to fill the mirrors of that number 33 cave, and then just maybe push McGregor offline and distract him slightly. But McGregor now is able to take his line. The best thing he can do is not get too distracted by the bright white Cayman behind him. Keep on line and keep his times fast, and he'll be able to keep Button at bay as they head onto the back stretch and through Cavone for what will be the penultimate time. McGregor able to get a good run out Tremonto and extend the gap to the number 22 machine as they come through Cavone and down towards the right-hander at Curva del Caro. He's able to keep in front, and he'll just need to make one more lap, one more tour of this 4.226 kilometre circuit, and he'll be on the podium. And just as I say that, Luca Burke's 1 lap away from what has been an utterly dominant victory in round 2.
Absolutely, yeah. Consummate ease it's been from Luca this evening, led from top to bottom, left from start to finish almost. I mean, it's obviously not finished yet, so still potential. Like we say, Curse Commentator got some a black and orange flag. I believe that's for the fact that Gentleman has not actually got his headlights on at the moment as we go ticking past 9 o'clock in the evening server time, so he's getting a bit of a telling off. I know you'll have 3 laps to sort that, so he's probably at the point now where he's just thinking, well, it's the final lap. It's been on for 2 laps. I can probably just run one more and get away with it. So hopefully, if that is going to be an issue, it won't be something that will impact him. Just switch them on before the end. But all over the back of Ross McGregor, and he's got a couple of chances now coming down towards Curva. Quercia now doesn't look like he's close enough. But if he can get a run out of Quercia and into Tremonto, he might be able to make a move there. But I would imagine he'll just set himself up for that fight into Cavone and through into the final couple of corners. And he is literally, Tim, right on the back of his Zansho Simsport sister team car, and is looking for a potential podium position on his return back into the second round.
As you see, actually, he's going towards the inside through Tremonto. He's got the overlap on the number 33, and they're side by side heading onto the back stretch as Luca Burke rounds the final 2 corners. Let's just see if Button can get the job done. He's going to have the high ground through the 2 right-handers. McGregor holding on around the outside. It looks like job done for Jenson Button. the man on the move at Mazzano, it's deja vu and is back to his best. Luca Burke, race winner, round 2 of the Esport Designs Cayman Supercup in association with MSL Motorsport Consultancy, and he will be followed home in dominant fashion really by Will Dendy, who will take second place in 17 seconds. Back then it's Jenson Button who takes that final podium position from Ross McGregor on the final lap ahead of Chris Crossman. A strong performance to 5th place in the BD Racing number 3, with Jack Noller holding on to 6th place in the 36 MSL Motorsports car. Then it's Ben Hitz and Regan Mitchell round out the top 8, with Kev Critchley recovering to 9th after anything but a clean race for the Barcelona race winner. Then Florian Bauer fights back to 10th after pitting in the second half of the race. Bastian Zenefels looks set to take 11th place as well, with then Stein Paspont, Steve Hinden in 13th. John Clements, with that plus 15 seconds to be added onto his time, will move him down the order from 14th place. Kieran Vidago set to benefit and move up a position, with Aaron Martin Pilkington potentially bagging the final point position at race 2. And as we see a parade finish here from Luca Burke, he was just utterly dominant, David. No one can get anywhere near him this evening.
Absolutely. What a race from Luca, and it's shades of season 1 all over again. Hopefully he'll be pushed a little bit more in the next race at Spa. But yeah, I mean, it was just one of those. Unfortunately, I think we were done a disservice from the 2 drivers who are arguably the closest to Luca, of course, with Jack McIntyre and Kev Critchley coming together on the first corner, and then Florian Bauer and Will Dendy obviously getting crossed up points through the race, and obviously gave Luca just even more of a gap than he had in the first place. So obviously can't take anything away from Luca. He's absolutely smashed it to bits this evening, and congratulations to him on the win.
So Luca Burke returns to the top step of the podium to get his championship off and running after disconnecting during the first round at Barcelona. Will Dendy, on return to the series, picks up his first podium in the championship, and then it was Jenson Button who managed to bag himself that final step on the podium as well after a difficult round at Barcelona as well with a DNF. So a few drivers here making their mark in this second round, and it was good to see as well. Jack Noller holding on to 6th, Ben Hitz as well getting a strong points finish in 7th place. Regan Mitchell continuing his run of finishing every single race of this Esport Designs Cayman Supercup in the points. It's going to turn the championship slightly on his head, isn't it, David? Because with Critchley, like you say, and Jack McIntyre not having the best events, they're going to have to come back fighting next time at Spa in the 90-minute race to really set their stall out and keep that championship run alive.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. Like I say, 7 races this season, of course. We head to Spa, like you say, next week, and then we've got Kyle Army, Paul Ricard, Imola and Silverstone to round out the season on the 7th of June, if I remember correctly. And plenty of work for some of these guys to do. Obviously, like I say, I've mentioned it once, mentioned it again. There was obviously incidents at the start which did do a little bit of put a bit of a dent in some of the racing for some of those guys towards the top end. But with the championship, it is, of course, Luca Burke will look to build on his win from this evening, and Kev Critchley will be looking to get back further up into the points, as well as Jack McIntyre as well. So it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see what the stand is going to look like after tonight's race. We'll see them come through once everything's been sorted out over the next day or so. We'll get them all updated. But there's definitely going to be a lot to play for, not only next week, but over the next 4 weeks after that as well.
So plenty of people enjoying the race this evening. There's still a number of you in the YouTube chat. Indeed, if you have enjoyed the race at any point, please feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to the Esport Designs YouTube channel. And why not hit that notification bell so that you know when we're going live for the next exciting race in this Esport Designs Cayman Supercup. We're just waiting for a couple of the drivers to drop in for an interview, but we'll head down there now because our series organizer and driver of the Esport Designs number 80, Steve Hinden, is waiting to speak to us. But Dave, before I head down there, just your thoughts really on the drives that we've seen up and down the field tonight. Some very strong performances, and really from the likes of McGregor getting on the podium, that consistency is going to start paying off as the championship progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, not too many differences in points to go through the standings, so definitely something to keep an eye out for. But yeah, consistency is going to be key. I know we've got a few people going in now, so I'm sure you've just done your quick rundown to the interview room, Tim, and we'll hear what everyone's got to say.
So I'm down here in the interview room with the podium finishers from tonight's Esport Designs Cayman Supercup at Misano. And we'll go to our race winner first, Luca Burke. Luca, after the difficulties of Barcelona, it must be nice to be back on top here at Misano. It must have been a little bit of a boring race for you this evening.
A little bit. It was pretty lonely up front, but yeah, no, after the issues at Barcelona, I was determined to come back strong, and well, I think I've proven my point. I'm happy with the result, even though it was a bit of a bore fest.
We say that, but actually it was very close in qualifying. Do you think, the competition's leveled up a bit from last season? We're obviously seeing a lot more drivers and some more teams committing to the championship. It's not as easy, is it, to get those pole positions?
Oh, definitely. No, the competition did rack up a fair bit. Like I had to sweat a fair bit to get that pole position, and yeah, I'm definitely excited for the rest of the season. Just unfortunately things got a bit messy today, which led me to being alone. But yeah, I'm excited to see how we can all compare with each other when things go well, I suppose.
Brilliant, and looking forward to the next race, which is at Spa. Obviously, you weren't able to complete the 90-minute race last time out of Barcelona. What are your thoughts about the strategy and how to tackle one of these 90-minute affairs, and how do you think you'll go around a circuit like Spa?
I haven't thought that far ahead yet. Yeah, I think I'll just go with the flow.
Yeah, take it as it comes. Well, thank you very much, Luca, and congratulations on your result this evening. Return to the top step of the podium.
Cheers, thank you.
We'll go to our second place finisher, Will Dendy. Will, back in the series, back in the races tonight, back on the podium. Must have been a good one for you.
Yeah, it's really good. I was actually mature for once and didn't absolutely send it when I was behind someone, and it paid off for me. I had a good race with Bauer fella for second, and then he caught up, and I knew that there was no catching Luca. So congratulations to Luca, dominant win, and I just got my head down really, and apparently Florian, who was in third and managed to push me along a bit. He thought there was a mandatory pit stop, he says on the Discord, so made my life a little bit easier there.
Oh dear, well we were surmising that might have been the problem, but it must feel good to get back to racing and back into get your championship off to a strong start. Obviously unable to race last time at Barcelona. As we heard from Luca about the level of competition, how hard are you having to push? We say, second place, it was made a little bit easy here and there, but you're giving it absolutely 100% behind the wheel.
Yeah, for the first half. For the second half, I was quite cruising, but I'm absolutely soaked. It's a bit disgusting, actually. I'm rather warm. I was really driving hard.
Looking forward to Spa, a circuit completely different to the track you've tackled this evening at Misano. How do you think you'll go there?
I think quite good. I tend to be a bit better on faster corners, and I quite I like a bit of. It's easier to race at Spa because you can do a bit of slipstreaming, and I've never actually driven that track on ACC, so I'll have to get practicing. But yeah, I look forward to the next one, and thanks to Steve and you guys for such a cool series.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Will, and congratulations on your result this evening. Go over to our third place finisher. Well, I say third place, he got it on the final lap of the event tonight, Jensen Button. Now, Jensen, back in the series after a difficult start as well at Barcelona. How does it feel to get on the podium?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, as the boys were saying, it is a lot more competitive, and especially in qualifying, which is good to see. I mean, the end of the last season, I thought I had the best. I had the best of these guys, but no. I mean, Luca, don't know where he's got his pace from. He's just stepped up another gear, so fair play to him. But no, it was really good fun. I started 12th, I think, so to come through and finish third, I'm pretty happy with that. It was most of it was clean. I have to say sorry. I think it was Crossman who I tapped on the rear corner. He didn't go round, but I think it unsettled his car a little bit for the exit, so I was able to get past him. But apart from that, mate, it was fun. Really good racing out there.
We did pass comment on it that the last season you were the closest to Burke in terms of qualifying, and tonight there were 10 cars between you on the grid. Going forward to the next race at Spa, do you think you're going to have to find time in qualifying, or do you think that over the 90-minute race there's plenty of opportunity to make up positions?
Yeah, well, the weird thing is in Barcelona, I felt like I was quick enough, and I was through testing, but then I got into quali and I didn't put new tyres on at the end, so it messed up. And this time I only got on the sim today. It's the first time for a whole week, so I didn't really practice, which hurt me a little bit in qualifying, I think. But yeah, hopefully I'll get on with Luca and he can share his tricks, because we are teammates after all, so he has to share everything with me, and I own the team, so I mean, come on.
He's got no choice, has he now?
He's got no choice. But to be fair, I think he's running the same setup as me, so I have no excuse. No, really good race. The back markers were the biggest issue. I don't know if there's something else we can do to make it a bit easy to get past the back markers, because I had a side on side with a car, dive down the inside, and I don't think he saw me. So yeah, that's the only issue.
We didn't hear that last bit about you having the same setup, Jensen. We can edit that out of the interview. Don't worry about it. But congratulations on your result this evening. Look forward to seeing you next time out at Spa.
Excellent. See you there, guys.
And we'll go over to our series organiser, Steve Hinden. Steve, it looked like you're in the wars a bit this evening. How was your race at Mazzano?
A bit of a shocker, really, wasn't it? I thought I qualified quite well. I qualified better than I did last week. I think I qualified in 15th this week, which is a bit of a step up for me. Coming into turn one, it was just there were cars all over the gaff, and I thought I got through the first kind of melee, and then it just kind of went from bad to worse. I dropped down to 26th, I think, at one point. I was just like, oh no, but I'm quite happy that I've managed to pull it back up to what did I finish? 13th. So not drastically bad. It was just a bit disappointing from what I saw in the car. Some of the incidents that happened, the old regular turn one incident, so a bit disappointing, but it's the way it goes, isn't it?
Like you say, managed to get to 13th, so consecutive points finishes, and looking forward to Spa. You went pretty well in the 90-minute race at Barcelona. How do you feel about another pit stop event, and this time at a circuit that plenty of the drivers like?
Yeah, Spa's a good track. Turn one's not quite as drastic, so hopefully we can get through that one all right. It's not one of my better tracks, so I'm being honest with you. I'm looking more to Kyalami and Imola. Shorter technical circuits are more my kind of thing. The long sweeping circuits, I do struggle on a little bit, but I'm in it for the fun. I'm not in it to win it. But hopefully it will be a good show, and better than some of the racing we saw this evening.
Well, we look forward to seeing you out on track in a week's time at Spa, Steve. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Tim. Cheers, Dave. Steve, thank you.
We'll go over to the driver who finished, surprisingly, in the top 10. I say surprisingly because it looked like he had to make that Cayman particularly wide to stop drivers getting past. That's Jack Noller. Jack, you said you would be happy with a top 10, and to finish in the top 6, you must be very happy this evening.
I guess it was a bit unexpected. Like, I qualified in top 10, very happy with that. And then, yes, I had to make my Cayman very, very wide, because by the time I was on lap 3, I had 14 seconds of damage on the car. So, yeah, she wasn't the easiest car to drive for the last 45 minutes, and it was definitely a job to stay as wide as I could. But P6 is a brilliant result after everything that's happened and what's happened to other drivers. But can't help to feel that without the damage on the car, it could have been a podium.
Well, podium last time out, and a points finish this evening. Looking forward to Spa. Another points finish on the cards. Is that what you're aiming for?
Looking forward to Spa. Again, another points finish with busy with university at the moment. But once these 2 weeks are done, it'll be back on the old grind of a few more race laps and practice. So, yeah, good points finish again, because the results are a bit chaotic. The championship will probably be quite close. The two guys ahead of me scoring less, but Ross might be leading the championship with 2 fourth places, so should be some fun.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Jack. Congratulations on your result this evening. And the final driver with us this evening is Florian Bauer of the Esport Designs team. Now, Florian, you're running inside the top 3. Looked like a podium was likely. Do we want to talk about the pit stop in the second half of the race?
It's just disappointing. I had no words on that. I was just too focused on the fight and thought like, okay, I have to do the mandatory stop, but unfortunately, yep, we don't have to. And yeah, in the end, I was actually quite lucky into turn 1 with the 2 cars in front of me spinning, just cutting turn 1 then and trying to survive. Had a good race so far, and then yeah, in the fight, I went to the pits, was yeah, just stupid, I would say. And maybe yeah, in the next races maybe I can deliver there and get some points or good positions.
Well, 7th at Barcelona and a 10th this evening at Misano. Do you feel like you're finding your feet in the Cayman and improving your performances over the races?
Yeah, I mean, the Cayman works very well for me. I really drive it a lot at this time actually, and very much serious. And yeah, I guess I can do some good pace with it when I do not make mistakes like this evening. So maybe you can get a podium in the next races.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations on your result this evening, Florian. We'll look forward to seeing you fighting at the sharp end next time at Spa.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
We go back up to David. Lucas extended it slightly again at the start of round season 2.
Yeah, ominous signs, isn't it, Tim? And I'm quite interested to note what you said about the difference, like you say, half a second between them in qualifying, yet 11 positions. I think it was that you mentioned between them on track anyway. So brilliant drive from Jensen to get the podium. Fantastic to hear from all of those. Of course, commiserations to Florian with that. A little bit of a mistake, hopefully not one he'll make again. But these are the kind of things that can happen when you're kind of really focusing on the race at hand. So it's unfortunate to see, but good to see he still managed to get some points in, and if he continues how he is after that race, I'm sure he'll get a podium at least in one of the next 4 races to come.
So an exciting event here once again in the Esport Designs Cayman Supercup in association with the MSL Motorsport Consultancy. Here at Misano, it was another battle for the podium, but Luca Burke was streaking away. Burke back to his best, but we head to Belgium next time in the incredible Spa-Francorchamps for the 3rd round of the Esport Designs Cayman Super Cup. The championship is hotting up, and you certainly won't want to miss it. But until then, I've been Tim Fullbrook with David Wressell and broadcast director Steve Proudley from Simsport Solutions. We look forward to seeing you next time, same place, Monday evening for round 3, season 2. We'll see you then. Goodbye.